Thank you, Robert. So stoic. Welcome to This Week in Hospitality Marketing, live show number 235. Yes, Robert has been putting up with me that long. And my
it's
name
good
is
that these shows now aren't going annually, really, that we're doing them weekly. Yes.
Weekly, yeah. My name is Lauren Gray. I'm the moderator of the show and co-host. Along with me is Mr. Robert K. Cole. Right?
That's right.
Yes.
And you don't even know what that stands for, so that's okay.
No, I'm afraid to even ask that, but with Mr. Robert K. Cole, he is the owner, founder, creator, president, El Presidente, CEO, CFO, CIO of Rock Cheetah.
LLC. That's right. Exactly.
LLC. Yes. For that. And curator of our content list that he has generated. I was going through some articles today. I'm so happy about some of these articles that you put together.
Really? That's a change from the norm.
Normally, I'm throwing them out the window, or I'm doing Nancy Pelosi with them or something. But
that actually, yes. Now that is a great metaphor for how you guys deal with the art. First, I thought you just ignored them. So that was fine.
No.
But
we blatantly
actually shredding them, actively
shredding them in disgust and throwing them off to the side. We even flare it out a little bit so it flutters into the air. But yeah, that's just us.
Very nice.
No, there's some very, very cool, and I really want to jump to them because there's some really strong comments. And I'm really happy for independent hotels on some of these articles because it is beginning to show the wear down of brand. I really think there's some articles we have in there that I am very happy with. First off, I do want to make a note for those who haven't subscribed to Mr. Robert Cole's email list of this distribution.
There's an easy way to do it now.
Yes, please tell us.
All you do is go to bit.ly, so bit.ly/rockcheetah, lowercase ROCKCHEETAH, and there you go. You can register for the list.
Excellent, because that is what we use as our baseline for conversations for the live show when we don't either have a guest co-host with us, which we're going to have. We actually have 3 in the wings right now that we're scheduling with, and they're very fascinating. One of them is the video, a customized video one that they're doing. Jason, I'm trying to get scheduled time for him. That is going to be a fascinating.
Jason Fried?
Huh? No. I want Jason too. Jason Fried's another Jason. Jason Fried is going to get on as well. And
Jason from the movies, from the horror movies, he would be fantastic.
Well, then we'd have to have the background noise.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, wrong Jason. Which Jason were you speaking of?
Well, it's going to be a surprise once we announce it. But it's a software that puts in customized video in the email workflow. And they've been doing successfully very well with it retail wise, and they're trying to move into the hospitality space.
Got it.
So that's going to be a fun co-host to this. But all that aside, with your list today, I want to take your top story and work down from there, if I may.
So the top story being the preview of the coronavirus, or the
no, actually, that's what you got for the newsletter. Yes, for the newsletter. If anybody needs to subscribe to it, so they get onto this. But what I was happy about with you put into your newsletter prior to listing the topics was that there is a decline. 2 days now.
Slight. 2 days in a row, but hey, we will take a trend. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so the hope is that is a beginning of a trend, that they are containing it. When you think about the scale of how they've been, to first off, shut off flights to a country of that size, that magnitude is massive. But also, too, the city of Wuhan that started this is bigger than Dallas.
Oh, yeah.
By twice. And they literally shut that city down. Can you imagine?
Well, in the province, 45 million people basically locked down because of the virus, which is a staggering number. And again, it's a very, very complicated issue. Not that I'm defending the Chinese government, but in some cases, it certainly was SARS. They downplayed it and let it go for a couple of weeks, which wound up in kind of explosive growth of the virus, unchecked and spreading around the world.
By the time it was notified,
which was bad, right? Because you've got the best way to defend against this stuff is certainly early notice. But again, you don't want to panic people unnecessarily, right?
True.
So there are some balances in there.
Yeah, well,
but this is a tough virus because the good news is it's not as. I mean, for the people who've passed away, you say it's not as severe. It's like This is bad. But it's not as bad as SARS and MERS.
The lethalness of it is not as severe.
Right. But it spreads faster, so it spreads more like a common cold, which is really bad.
And there was a stat.
And you wind up with more people dying because you go, oh, well, it's not very reassuring. Go, well, your percentage chance of dying is lower. Oh, but you have a higher chance of catching it. That's not the greatest trade-off.
Well, there was also the sad news reporting that the doctor, the whistleblower, as it were, the one that was trying to raise the alarm of this, who was actually censored, that he was not allowed to pass from it.
Yes,
and which is sad, because you can imagine, the stories being told about how he probably tried to do everything he could to contain, help with what anybody was, and by doing that, he lost his own life.
And with a 2-week incubation period, that's tough because, again, it's the whole privacy versus security continuum, right?
Well, look at the cruise ships that are stuck in Hong Kong and Japan. Well, actually, it's not stuck in Japan. It's just going back and forth in the water.
Right. And those are huge problems because you go all the people, and there's discussion. This is a violation of human rights because if you don't have it, right, then it's like, why are you locking me up with people who do have it? And even though you think you've
one of the interviewees on the boat,
there may be people around who do have it that you don't know about yet. It's complicated.
Right. Well, and like one of the interviewees on the boat went over and said, we're all held suspect. We're on this boat stuck, held suspect.
Yeah.
Because we can't tell who may or may not have it and how we would or would not get it. And we're, can you imagine being in an interior cabin on a cruise boat for what will be 2 weeks?
It's better than being out there getting exposed to the virus.
True, but man, talk about staircases. Those cabins are kind of anyway. So, all that being said and done, it is a newsworthy item.
You probably have a small TV that hopefully is in color, and you can watch a ship. The ship's channel or something like that.
I'm hoping that because it is a discussion with my clients. It is a discussion of impact on destinations. I have clients in markets that are already affected by travel changes from this.
Chinatown in New York apparently is empty, which is just kind of crazy. But you then have kind of the overflow of anything Chinese, just stay away.
And there's
which is nuts.
An unhappy biasness towards the fact that we're even seeing that Chinese restaurants are not being frequented for whatever reason. I mean, how can you say that a Chinese restaurant located in Duluth, Montana, but people are,
or Duluth, Minnesota. Yeah.
Or Minnesota, whatever Duluth is, that has somehow connections to all of this, and we hope that doesn't turn into an ethnic perspective as well, where people begin to think that they can't be around people from China because they might have the possibility of it because of whatever. And it's just it's strange, these thoughts that go through people's heads as to how they try to connect the dots between things. So again, newsworthy as it is. Hopefully the trend does continue.
2 days where the numbers dipped a little bit, and there have been days where there have been dips in the past. I mean, so it's not necessarily we're out of the woods, because at the end of January, I think they had one day where it went from 992 new cases to basically only 600, or I'm sorry, no, it went from about 1,800 cases to about 1,400 or something, or 1,500, something like that. And people thought, oh, that's good. We're now coming off of the peak. That wasn't the case, right? Then the next day it spiked back up. So, and early last week it was really bad. It was starting to increase, 200 additional cases a day, 400, 700, and now it's back. So some of it could be reporting too. So it's
with us tricky. Now, just joining is Ms. Lily Mockerman with TCRM.
Hello, Lily.
And Think Up. Excuse me, I must make sure we have both sides.
Oh my gosh, you got both of them correct, Lauren.
I did my homework today.
February, and now you're all set.
I'm rocking.
My voice is back, which I'm so grateful for. You can't imagine how an opinionated person feels being silent for 4 days.
Oh gosh, I'd blow up. I would poop.
Now, see, I just argue with myself. It's fine. If schizophrenia,
you lost that argument a long time ago.
It's pretty good, yeah.
Dude. You lost.
Oh, shut up! That's a horrible point.
Anyway, we just went over and got a little conversation tangent on, of course, the coronavirus and the hopes that the numbers that Robert shared in the newsletter, which we let everybody know they can sign up for, will. are showing 2 days of decline, which hopefully will be a direction that it stays. But I also told him from the articles he shared, I'm actually very excited, and especially from an independent hotel point of view, because I believe some of these articles are indicative of brand deterioration.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Well, okay. Again, I would like to start with the CIO part first. Okay.
Okay.
And I'll lend to my common theme for all of this, that the items that were brought up in this article about the challenges about what a CIO should be like. I think the article starts out by saying you can't be an average CIO, chief
Information officer.
Information officer, whatever you want to call it. But the idea that you have to be this adaptive, and they went through and broke it down very nicely as to all the skill sets they believe a current successful CIO or tech officer should have. But the key element to this that I think points out is the rigidity of large corporate operations.
Right.
And the slowness of their inability to make these kinds of changes, where smaller ownerships or direct ownerships or standalone hotels of their own merit, this is lightning fast turn on a dime capabilities. This is take the list and make it happen kind of stuff. Where most of the large organizations, these stacked on legacy systems, this incredibly complex, they got to move the mountain for everybody. This is a weakness on brand side. This is a weakness on that scale, that they can't just make these changes. And it's evident because this has been a known entity for, I would say, guaranteed 3 years, if not a subjective 5 years, that people are aware that IT is no longer just the little dark room denizen in the bottom of the hotel with a bunch of wire.
Every company is a technology company, and if you're not a technology, now again, there's a problem, particularly with a lot of these IPOs. I mean, you had the Casper mattress IPO this week, which, yes, they were up 12% after the first day of trading, but they also lowered their initial offering value by about a third. So, and that is what's supposed to happen in these offerings, right? You're supposed to price it appropriately. But again, you have something that's basically a mattress company that's being valued at a technology company multiple, right? Without people looking at what are really the margins and what are the fundamental business aspects of these. But every major company, you are a tech company. You have to have that. Otherwise, if you're not, maybe you wind up. What would be a good analogy this week? Oh, I know, the Iowa Democratic Party running a caucus, outsourcing the tech. Actually, there were so many little weird articles I was thinking of throwing in the preamble. That was mine earlier the week before I saw the good news on the coronavirus, but. That was just crazy. I mean, that app was developed basically by Democratic Party insiders, right, who are kind of doing some tech stuff. And they go, hey, instead of like volunteering for these campaigns, we can go make a bunch of money by doing technology, which is fine, right? It's kind of entrepreneurial.
I like the key element that they didn't test it.
Oh, no, it's worse than that. Apparently, it was something Fairy. It was I can't remember the name of the actual platform that they used. No, it wasn't Test Fairy, but it was something like that. They didn't even use like the enterprise version. They used like the freemium version, which only allowed 200 simultaneous users, right? And you go, wait a second, you've got 1,600 precincts. So, I mean, these guys, it was poorly designed. Obviously, they said, well, we tested it. There's a fundamental difference between unit testing, which is each little piece of component go, hey, yeah, you could log in, hey, you can do this, versus end-to-end testing, which should ultimately be.
What I mean. I'm not saying that they didn't try logging in or setting
the problem was,
a logo on it. No, I'm talking about the fact that they hard tested it in scale with what they were going to be using it for. That's testing.
But user acceptance testing, right? Here is what it's supposed to. Does it do what it said it was supposed to do? So you do it end to end from, hey, we were able to download it from the from the site, which again, it wasn't in an app store. It was some sort of side-loaded, God knows how they got it, because it wasn't production-ready software. Two, does the reporting wind up actually getting delivered to the servers where these things get counted, and are the numbers in the right column?
But they had a proper backup. They had 2 people standing by on phones. It was all good.
You're exaggerating. That was 12. It was 12 people. And again, the ridiculousness of this, if you know who these precinct chairs are, you could certainly lock things down with two-factor authentication. You could certainly say we'll only accept numbers from these particular. I mean, there is technology that can do very sophisticated things. You know, you get a call from a phone number, it should go automatically to a person and identify that's Lily's phone. Oh, she's precinct 413 versus Lauren's phone, which is 827. This is very, very available technology.
That's all right. Their law firm of Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe will take care of them. And gosh knows, Mo and Curly took care of them to start the program.
Yeah, so. it's just absolutely, that is a classic example of, in that case, it wasn't the Democratic National Committee who probably would have, be more lumbering and not as flexible and have policies versus kind of the Iowa guys who are like, hey, we're doing it. But again, I loved Iowa's excuse. They said, well, we bought the software because Nevada was using it.
So it says every CBB in the universe. Right?
Well, good. Nevada didn't test it either, obviously. So, yeah, I mean,
this threatens to veer into very political governmental territory as opposed to our normal topics. But I will say, number one, this is not necessarily, it's the thought that counts, because the thought of moving to the next generation of being tech focused, I think, is a good idea. And obviously needs some help on execution. But I can't say I'm surprised, because I still remember the original launch of the Obamacare website.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Well, and that was purely a load testing issue, right? They just, the servers couldn't handle load because the load was much higher, and you certainly have a big problem if you do run into situations where it's over capacity. People keep hitting reload, right? Because what's wrong? It must be a browser issue, and then all of a sudden your traffic is quadrupled and quintupled, whatever it may be, which. Yeah, it's bad. But again, there's software to do that.
They call that a brute force attack, by the way.
Yeah, well, but even in that case, you can simulate these now. I mean, you've got these massive banks of cloud computers with the systems which can go replicate every kind of device. You can time it. You can have them doing different things. And again, the more sophisticated you are with your testing, yes, it's probably going to be more expensive, but guess what? You've reduced your risk. So that's the trade-off.
That, if you were to broadly paint the parties as Republicans being more traditional and Democrats being more progressive, it's a little surprising to see both of these technology issues coming from the Democratic Party.
Oh,
but there's a whole show we could do if it was relevant on how government sources all of their things and how they overpay for things, and all the different challenges that we have with governments selecting any type of product, especially technology.
Right. Well, it's the whole try to make everything standardized, one size fits all, simplify things, and then you wind up getting all these bizarre exceptions. No, I know. I was critical at a government. U.S. government was one of the departments was my client for 5 years, and they made me fly on basically unrestricted coach airfares, and I'm sitting there going, why should I pay $1,800 round trip for this? I can get first class for less. And I go, no, you can't fly first class. You have to be on an unrestricted. You need to be able to cancel it and change it at any time, because again, the rule was set up for flexibility. So somebody said, oh my God, we have to stop getting charged for airfares that are non-refundable. Look at how much we're spending. So what did they do? They made a rule. It's like, every airfare we spend, we're gonna pay triple, quadruple for. That's an issue, right?
So, Robert, you know how we never get to your whole list? I'm beginning to find out why.
Well, we're being no, it's normally not me. It's normally not me. I
want to. There's so many. You have really, honestly, you create as always. Your list is awesome. This one I'm really keen in on. For some reason, this week I'm going,
wait, Lauren. There's a cause and effect relationship. If you read the list first, you will sometimes find articles.
Oh, I'll take it. There's been weeks.
But actually, one last thing, just politically, because Tim isn't here, who normally just loves to rave on political
he loves talking politics.
is particularly social media. The Republicans are much better at it than the Democrats. Much, much better for, basically weaponizing it, which if you're a marketer or a politician or whatever is the same thing. How do you use this tool, optimize it, use it most effectively to achieve your objectives? The Republicans win that quite heavily over the Democrats. And a lot of it has to come up with, what are the strategies? What are the objectives? And you can say, hey, that's a mean objective or whatever, but that's not, they're playing by the rules that have been set by the platforms. And if Facebook is like, hey, move fast and break stuff, and that's their policy toward our democracy, then they are playing by the rules. So what can you say?
So under the category of brand and product, I'm kind of confused. This is the dual.
Oh wait, Lauren, we didn't cover what the 5 things that CIOs need to do. Though.
Oh, that's what I put the article up there. I didn't want to slow us down because there's too many articles to get.
Well, no. I thought they were very good points. One, these aren't just 5 traits for a transformative CIO. These are 5 traits for a These are 5 traits for a transformative business leader. Period. I make it a revenue manager. Make it a marketer. It doesn't matter, right? Which is why I put it at first. One is to be a business leader, right? You need to learn the business inside out. Take responsibility for initiatives that generate revenue, right? That's pretty important. Be a change agent. Is exactly what you were talking about. Was how do you change? You see things that are wrong or missing. How do you make that work? By partnering with other business leaders, articulating why you need to do this, and then having an integrated plan that highlights the risks and the dependencies of the organization, not just your little area. A talent scout, right? I mean, how do you attract top talent? Build that up internally, right? And how do you find it externally? Be a culture revolutionary. Engineer a true community, and then you model and support that collaboration so people are working together. And then finally, and this for an IT thing, and you could call it a tech translator or a marketing translator or a revenue management translator or whatever it may be, but to be able to express what's going on in your part of the business overall, so make the business implications very clear. Right. So you can say not just we want to do this, that's really cool, but we want to do this. Here's how it helps the business. I thought that was just a great article from the McKinsey folks on how to make business work. So
I did. I thought it was a great article as well. I do completely agree with that. Okay. Meanwhile, back at the ranch with Grandma.
Don't call Lily Grandma. That's so mean, Lauren. My
dual branded hotel.
More bags under my eyes today.
No, I wasn't referring to it in that sense. It's just that there's a whole other end into that statement, but it might be considered inappropriate.
I took the ageist approach of that, which would obviously apply to me, and the sexist dimension to apply to Lily. So you basically have offended both.
I'm mutually insulting everybody. Yeah, no, I mean in any bad context. Other than, do dual branded hotels outperform single branded hotels? I have one primary question, and that is, why is a real estate professor our contributing author on this? Why?
Because it's real estate.
It's hotels.
Don't diss Checky. Checky's a great guy.
No, I'm not talking about Mr. Dev. I'm talking about Eva.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
I was actually coming up with a different question, and granted, this may be answered somewhere in the 18-page report, which I have not yet done all the way through. But when they said that there were mixed results, I wondered, when they said that they were comparing to similar, I wondered if they did like brands exactly. So, For example, with the AC Hotel and the Residence Inn shown in the picture, if they were comparing that dual-branded hotel, did they compare it to another AC Hotel and Residence Inn in a similar market? Because if not, then in my mind, the data is very skewed, because an AC hotel is not going to perform the same as, say, a Courtyard or a Hampton Inn, different target market. And so I'd want to kind of dig through the report to see if that validated it. But I think the overall summary, I felt like, really didn't answer much, just said mixed conclusions. And a huge pet peeve of mine. Put out a report that says we couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I also, when it came to this, and I agree with you, the comparison of the type of brands that they were putting together is not the common normal blend that you see in market. You usually see the Courtyard Residence, you see that kind of combo that's put together. And because one of the things that they did point was there was a difference in marketing costs with the multiplicity of brand compared to the singularity of brand. And it's less likely the case if there's a similarity of tier brand. So if it is a Courtyard Residence Inn, you're less likely to really incur an expanded marketing cost. Yes, you have two hotels to market, so there's an expansion. But from a cost per each, I would think there's a greater similarity than like it's an AC versus something else. I think there would be a disparity on that because of the tier levels. So yeah, same question too. Is like, what were you really comparing, and how many markets were you comparing that same similarity? Were they matched or were they dissimilar? So
right, exactly. And they statistically normalize for number of rooms if they're looking at occupancy by percentage. Did they statistically normalize for the size of the operation, the type of markets they're comparing if they're not in the same market, the distance to demand generators? There's just, I understand why they weren't able to get a clear result. Even though it frustrates me that they published saying there's no clear result, because it's like clickbait, right? I get all excited about the headline. Right. Then there's no actual substance. But I'm actually excited to dig through the report just to kind of see what they're finding, because it's an interesting question that, frankly, I had never thought to pose.
I did read the article, as I do read every study from
Robert. You are a saint. They should
from the Cornell University Center for Hospitality Research.
I just need to point out that you might have more lead time since you and send it to us at 4 a.m. I'm just throwing it out.
When we get in at 4 a.m., it's a little brisk for us.
Hey, that thing went out at 2 a.m. Central, folks. So I don't know.
3 a.m.
You guys out in are you in Nova Scotia or so? I'm not sure where. Or no, Nova Scotia's Eastern time. Actually, I don't know. Newfoundland's half an hour off. I don't know where you guys are located. So Atlantic time somewhere.
4 really makes a difference at this point, considering I intend to be asleep at both of those times.
Yeah, both of those times are just nighty nights.
Now, see, that's how you become more efficient. If you cut out that sleep, if you cut out time for eating and sleep, I mean, you can take the Stuart Butler approach. If you really cut out time for eating, really sleeping, bathing, sort of thing, and he mostly just drinks, and so that's really how he.
Well, there's only one way never to have a hangover, and that is never get sober.
That's Stuart's. Yeah. And again, our policy to definitely disrespect the folks who are the hosts who are not on the show.
Open season for us, yes. But anyways, yes, you were go ahead.
But I think the main thing was that I think the result of the study was that it didn't show that these dual branded things were working a lot better. Right. So they're like, hey, there's a lot of focus, but the operating efficiencies, because one of the reasons was, look at the operating efficiencies you get. Isn't this great? They aren't seeing that. Mm-hmm. Right. So you're basically it's a hotel now with two brands. Right. And it's kind of, so, okay, before you had whatever inventory of standard rooms, and now you have whatever bay and a half rooms or something like that.
I'll bring it down to a personal experience, and that is I ran 3 hotels, 2 branded, 1 independent, around the marina. Mm-hmm. And during after 9/11, we had to cut back our staff, so we had to cross-train our staff to be able to. We basically had one housekeeping crew for all 3 hotels. Mm-hmm. And we had one engineering team for all 3 hotels. We had front desk staff that had multi-trained which desk they were going to sit behind, depending upon when we needed them somewhere. And I can tell you the increase in cost, time, and things to do that, and then to lose those people potentially because you put investment into them that they know all brand standards for 2, what the independent standards for the 3rd, they're cross-trained on softwares and so forth. And now you're almost held hostage that you can't replace them as easily, because if you bring somebody on board, the learning curve and the unusability of them is long and pronounced. So there is a lot of things that don't get, I think, directly attributed to the value proposition. And to your point, Robert, I think it points out that where brand was saying, oh, let's stack them up like in New York. We have 2 brands 3 brands on top of each other. Look at how easy and efficient this is. It didn't prove anything. It didn't help the brand value proposition to say, oh, let's put lots of flags over your building and you'll get different demands for your clients. It doesn't know. It didn't have
Right, because you're basically. Go ahead.
Having worked at the original dual-branded hotel, before dual-branded hotels were a thing, which is the Brown Palace Luxury Hotel in Denver, which shares a skybridge and meeting space with the Comfort Inn, which you could pretty much not get more disparate in your dual brand. They definitely sold separately, but again, we shared the efficiencies back and forth. There was typically one MOD over both hotels and things of that nature. But the interesting thing that I found that made it more of a revenue management proposition was we would get into group selling situations where you might have all your VIPs at the Brown, but your regular delegates at the Comfort Inn, or you might split the block based on who was able to pay more for the Brown and who wanted the Comfort Inn level rates or the free breakfast or whatever the case may be. So I think that if you're in a scenario like that, there's I forget which brands are together right now, but there's a newish dual branded hotel complex right on the water in San Diego that I went to visit, and the way that the amenities are split out actually makes it very great for sports groups and different things like that. So from that standpoint, I could see them maybe attracting more guests. And if I understand correctly, that's not really the focus of the report and measurement. They were focused more on operational efficiency than
operational. Are you getting a higher ADR and things like that? Now again, their results came out. They said the ADR was slightly higher, but again, these are brand new hotels, right? Yeah. Versus so I don't know, and I think you have to dig into what are what's the basis for them, but. With to continue with people with the bingo cards, with Four Seasons, we opened a hotel, and again a long time ago, 1982, a 400-room hotel, but 25% of the inventory were what they called quote Four Seasons rooms. They were beautiful rooms. They were 50% larger. They were curved on the end. They had balconies, very different from the standard rooms, which were still ample size, just great, right? I mean, they had. Half of them had bidets, half of them had stall showers in addition to tubs. Spectacular, and it's still the Omni Mandalay. It's a great hotel. It didn't work financially. I mean, you were allocating 50% more floor space to these rooms, and you were not generating a 60% price premium, right? Which is really kind of the bottom line from a real estate perspective on these. So it was a dismal failure. Great hotel. And then really interesting operational challenges because you had so much inventory. And again, this was kind of the within one building, right? And even on a floor, every floor had 4 of these things. What are you going to do? Are you going to upgrade your corporate people because you're empty always up to these rooms, which they get used to, and then when they're full, you wind up downgrading them, and then they're pissed off. It's like, no, we've been doing you a favor the last 3 months, and now we're finally busy. There are lots of very interesting ramifications.
Well, you're describing what any hotelier has to deal with during renovation cycles too. I mean,
absolutely.
You get your premium room builds, and then you're selling that as a brand value difference, price difference. Of course, they're conflicting with. Wait a minute, you have a rate of $159 on your site, and you're charging me $229. Yeah, but you're getting the new spiffy room. And that's the old button up room,
Yeah, but if you're in the Aloft versus the Even or whatever, maybe I'm crossing brands. I don't know, but whatever the case may be, do you upgrade people from one side to the other if they're available? And again, I go back to an HSMAI function. There's a dual branded hotel near Dallas Love Field. We're there, the GM's there, they're giving us a tour, and half of it was in a loft, so it was kind of cool. They had a nice little public space and kind of bar type thing. And the other, I think, was an Even or something like that. I think it began with an E. But again, it was more the long-term stay type eco-centric one. And these are both in the same building. Right, you're kind of like, I don't know about the eco-friendly versus this one's not.
Downtown when they had the direct conference that last time I spoke at, there was a combo one. There was long-term day and short. I think it was a combination between Courtyard and Residence Inn.
And that was very common. Marriott did those for decades.
But the doors were bad because they were glass, and the Courtyard side there was no free breakfast. So you just look through the glass, see breakfast over there, but your card doesn't work.
Right. Yeah, which made those sorts of things. And I talked to I spoke to the GM. I said, so these two brands, where do you stay? And she goes, oh, well, I stay in the Even because the rooms are much nicer, but I then go hang out at the Aloft for the whatever, and things like that. And you're like, that's because again, there was a single front desk, right? It was a centralized entry
but
point.
that's the same. But you're discovering the same thing we always pick on about brand dilution, where you get it's bought into 3 buildings. They own the centralized parking lot. There's a courtyard, a Residence Inn, and a full flag Marriott. You see everybody coming from the full flag Marriott to eat the free breakfast at the Residence Inn.
That's right.
Walking across the parking lot.
Right.
And so 2 courtyards. They're just all going over getting free breakfast.
Well, and then you have the operational decision to say, okay, damn it, we're going to enforce that. And we're going to start
really well.
Oh yeah, we'll start tossing them out, or we'll start adding operational costs like bracelets and staff to check it and do all sorts of crazy things, which then just completely defeat the purpose and offends the guests and all sorts of stuff, because people don't like getting caught with what things that they thought were structurally very easy to cheat at, which they see other people cheating at, right? So
if you're going to enforce it with me, it's like when you fly airlines, when they do the zone thing and you're watching people that are in zones behind you get in front of you and they're not enforcing, you're going, wait a minute, I'm trying to play by your rules here. You're saying zone 2, I'm in zone 3, zone 4 just loaded and you don't care. Well, heck, cattle stampede.
Well, yeah, and it's like, hey, why doesn't a red light flash and they get thrown into a TSA secondary check line or something like that? Yeah, you've cheated on this. What are you doing? Yeah. If you're breaking this rule, you're probably breaking another one. Let's punish you. Right?
So, all right. So anyways,
anyway,
in my theme of brand dilution of value, I love the next one. Ouch! Marriott hotel categories change. Thank you, Marriott, for making my job easier.
It's funny because this was written from the traveler perspective. Meanwhile, I'm reading it from a revenue management perspective and like, oh my gosh, these hotels are so excited that they're getting a higher
absolutely
reward.
I'm like, oh, thank you for handing me a gift this year. Now I get to go over and have even a stronger argument of why membership is now a carrot on a longer stick. Why are you so worried about gaining points with a brand that doesn't care about whether you can actually redeem them? Because you'd have to stay half of your life in a hotel to get the other part.
So one thing that has always eluded me is, and I've probably said this on the show at some point before, but I'm loyal to 2 brands. Southwest.
To which? What was the other one?
Amazon and
Amazon. Yes.
So the reason that I am is because with Amazon, I have complete peace of mind knowing whatever I order, I can return if it doesn't work out exactly the way that I want for free. And with Southwest, I can change my flight at any time that I need to, which I do frequently. My assistant will let you know just how annoying that is for her. But I might go standby, or I might change it, or I might, I like the prerogative of having all of this flexibility with no attached fees. And I feel like brands' loyalty programs are doing the opposite. They're like, okay, the more loyal you are, the more rules we have around how exactly you could do it. And eventually it's going to get so frustrating for people that they're just not going to do it. I mean, I would be loyal to a hotel brand if, number one, I ever actually stayed on my own dime, which doesn't seem to happen very often. But 2, if I had flexibility. So if I knew that I could check out early, check out late, whatever, not have the same cancellation policy, basically removing restrictions would be more meaningful to me as a hotel guest. That and a case of free water, because I'm just like that. But that's what would be meaningful to me. Like, the points are nice, and I love redeeming free flights on Southwest, but I don't get points on Amazon, and I'm still fiercely loyal and do all my shopping there if I can help it.
Sure. Robert, you're no audio. Robert, you lost your audio. Wow.
This gives us a chance to talk, Lauren.
The gods have answered. Oh, no. Well, Robert is correcting his audio. A silence follows on us all. No, the idea of this for me is I have all this conversation with independent hotels. How do we combat the points issue associated with the brand down the street? And even to one point, I had a client in Virginia, And they had a huge loyalty base that came to the hotel, restaurant, everything. They loved everything. And he started getting approached by people as the courtyard down the road was getting built, saying, hey, I love you, but I'm going to start staying at the courtyard because that's the points. I'm, business travel. Most of the travel through there was business. I get my points so I can bring my family for vacations. So we started mapping out what the frequency pattern of our guests were and how much it would mean in the sense of value proposition, the points that they would accumulate with the competitor down the road. So, and we literally offered cash, credit, a gift card of X dollars, depending upon their frequency of visits that we had historically with them, and said, this is worth it for us. Get your points anywhere else you travel to, but when you travel here, stay with us, and we're going to give you this because of it every time that you come in the door with us. And they kept them there because at the end of the day, it was not something they had to go through this hoops and valleys with. They knew they were going to get inferior in comparison to what they were getting by staying at the courtyard. But the long tail of that would be that they get the points, for down the road. And we're like, no, we'll just give you cash. We'll give you the value proposition of what it means for you to stay with us. Mm-hmm. And that means that you can go get your points elsewhere. And so it worked. You can't say that that's a solution in all cases, but this makes it even easier of a discussion because we have taken some of the best benefits of what membership means, and really we're translating it from an independent point of view as engagement, personalization, identification of your guest value to us, what we know about you, how we communicate with you. Not that we're trying to create this incentive frequency program with you, this carrot on a stick program, but rather we want to know that when you come in the door, we know what you want, we know what we can provide, and we want to be able to give you as a reward for your loyalty to us every time you come in the door, not because you come in enough times through the door. Right. And that's really, this makes it so much nicer for me because now it's like, my gosh, where does the break point happen where the average traveler says, what am I doing this for? These points, I have to go find another 5 or 7 days worth of travel just to hit the minimum to be able to have enough points to go where I want to go on the redemptions. It's not worth it.
Right. To get free Wi-Fi, or again, they haven't really drawn that line yet, but if that would be a powerful one, right? Hey, if you're a member of this program at a certain tier, you get Wi-Fi and then you have to pay. Huge dissatisfier. But again, why do you want to go abuse your guests? And basically, you're talking about a frequency program versus a recognition program. And what you want to do, the recognition is the important part. And if you can recognize people who stay more and pay more, that's great. They're a more valuable customer. Maybe they should get recognized more. But I think you wind up, more groups have to look at it from a value perspective where you say, whatever it may be, 2% of your purchases, right? Or 5%, whatever, however rich you want to make it. But let's just say 2%. You go, okay, I'm going to go fund that into your account. And maybe you can use it for, whatever, in-room dining. You can use it for anything. Use it for your next stay with us. We don't care. Or if you don't want to use that, here are a bunch of charities that we support, which we think are really good. Would you like to donate it? Boy, that's a tremendous signal between, what is this person's dedicated? What do they want to do? Are they in it for the benefits of the freebies? And then you can say, oh, they're doing it for cash. They're doing it for upgrades. They're doing it for other value benefits. Incredibly valuable signals for how you engage properly with that individual and what makes them tick. But not happening right now in the hotel industry, that's for sure. Lots of other retailers, other groups are doing it, but not.
I'm going to do a little bit of bragging. One of my clients, which is in San Antonio, and Lily knows which one I'm talking about. He owns the restaurants that are at the basement. They're very popular restaurants. He actually owns 9 restaurants in the market. And these restaurants are just absolutely top stellar, 4.9, 5.0 review restaurants all the time. And everybody that comes to the hotel, it's a small little boutique hotel, gets a $50 credit to the restaurant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody, not just
awesome to sell this hotel because it's like
not just if they book direct, right? If they book through an OTA.
Oh, I give it to them through the OTA. Right? Well, everybody gets it, but what we're featuring is that if you book direct, we highlight it. We don't highlight that you're going to use an OTA because what they do when they come in as an OTA, we're going to say, hey, look, we give a $50 credit to everybody that comes and stays with us. We notice that you book through Expedia. We'd like to extend that to you as well. We just have your email so we can reach to you directly next time. And they don't mind. $50 for my email? Yeah, heck yeah.
That's right. Yep.
And
very
so
smart approach.
We give it to everybody, but we highlight it on direct channel. And it makes it, again, to the amenity of reward of saying, stay with us and you're going to get something. not just a great experience. You're going to get we appreciate you being here. That's that loyalty thing. It's a mutual two-way thing. We want to be loyal to you by showing you you're a value to us, and we would love you to come back because of it. So, yeah, it is a huge sell value on that. And plus, the nice part of it is that we're going to start creating incentives for them to travel the city. Where if they go to other restaurants and we give them a little passbook, and if they get enough stamps, we just recharge that card. Like, hey, you get another three. You go to another 3 restaurants, we'll give you another $50.
That's right, and that's great. All of a sudden, then you're engaging with what's their purpose of traveling, right? What's their experience that they want, and you're helping them accomplish that goal. So, tying into that, High Tech this year is in San Antonio, Lauren.
Isn't that something?
And, wow. I mean, since you have this client who has all these restaurants, I would assume
you all get special super duper rates. Okay.
Lily, that is code for that's Lauren's 3x friends and family multiplier he uses. Yes.
No.
Actually, I'm excited to check it out because I'm going to be down in San Antonio for the Navigate conference first week of March as well. Will you be there?
Wheezes together on a panel. Can you imagine how much fun that panel is going to be? Lily and I on it. Woo-hoo!
I'm experiencing it right now.
What's that, Lily?
We're on the panel for AHOA, right?
We're on AHOA. Oh, yeah, right. No, we're not on the same one for Navigate. Yeah, for AHOA, we're on the same one.
But I do hear that Guy Fieri's going to be there, and there's going to be armadillo racing. So for anybody who has not yet signed up for Navigate, it sounds like a pretty great event.
Stuart said he's going to wear his Borat bathing suit when he goes. So there's some visuals we're going to have too. So, well, we were competing.
And that's an image that can't be unseen. And to all of our viewers, I apologize. Well,
the
behalf
thing
of
is
the show.
Stuart was offered a second speaking point that is contra to my time slot. So I started doing the typical speaker-to-speaker challenge of get used to talking to an empty room, that kind of thing. I've been known to go out into the hallways and hawk my, city hawk my session for everybody to come into, so forth and so on. He says, I'll give it to you as long as you go over and make everybody come to the end of the day session that I already had. And I'm like, yeah, deal. Okay. You send everybody over to mine, talk to an empty room. I'll go over and record and give you some videos. And I started saying videos. He says, I'll wear my Speedo. And I'm like, nope, need to wear your Borat. There you go, Robert. Another visual.
No, please.
Anyway, it should be a lot of fun in San Antonio. And it is going to be an awesome conference. There is some really good content. I have to give Avast credit. They're not sponsoring anything. There's no money, anything. Just we're happy that we're able to speak with them and all. But they really are dedicated to content development. And yes, they are trying to sell the product. No, everybody else is. But the idea of it is that mainly when they were outlining what they wanted to have us talk about, it wasn't centric on their software. It was centric on the content. So
I so appreciate it. And I think, it's really interesting because it's one of the few that I would look at the agenda and say, okay, I would attend this as a non-Navis user because I can still get something out of it. Whereas with a lot of other user conferences, that's just not the case. But I guess while we're on the topic of user conferences, I believe there was a little something in here about the Oracle conference.
Yep, there was.
And I was present for the session that they're talking about. Oh. And I really appreciated the way that they went about kind of outlining all of the challenges and what they were doing to enhance it. I'm intrigued to see what exactly comes of it. A lot of it, because this was heavily attended by technology side of the business, a lot of it was geared towards vendors and how they can create APIs with Oracle to create, add-on solutions that aren't produced by Oracle. But there was still a lot of talk about the expensive nature of the fees. The only question I sent in that they didn't get to, unfortunately, was how are you going to shorten the turnaround window for people who want to install Opera so that there's not a 6 to 12 month waiting period that's realistic in today's business. So I didn't get that one answered, unfortunately, but it was a good session. Unfortunately, I wasn't there for very long, just a couple of hours, because that's, I think the reception at Oracle is probably what caused me to lose my voice entirely. I tried to power through that one a little too much. But overall, it was nice to see them just being transparent and honest and realistic about what the challenges are internally. And now I think the litmus test will be, what do we see actually happening?
Well, and the leadership now is Alex Alt,
Right.
former Rosewood, kind of deal guy at Rosewood, who then went to Sabre and Synixis, and David Meltzer, right, who's there also. So it's kind of the old Sabre Synixis team who are now in charge of the Oracle hospitality stuff. But that has been, I'm still surprised. And yeah, I know those folks really well. I understand their challenges, but Oracle's owned that stuff for 5 years. Right. I mean, that is a long time in the technology world. They came in with, I don't know what the number is, 40,000. What's the installed base now of Oracle total? It's something like 40,000-ish or something like that. Properties. And still, did they say how many were on the cloud platform? It's still under 2,000. I mean, it's well under 2,000.
I have an opinion on that too, shockingly enough. We work with properties on both the cloud and traditional. And to be completely honest, I think that one big thing, well, first of all, it's the cost. It turns out you can't just go to the cloud. You have to pay to go to the cloud.
Yes.
It's like buying a new PMS when you weren't planning to buy a new PMS, which is a big barrier to entry.
Yep.
But the properties that have started out on the cloud, the layout, although supposedly easier, is not easy for somebody who's used to Opera. They've basically kept similar functionality. Not much has been enhanced, in my opinion. It's really just a different layout. So that's the fastest way. I mean, just look at all the uproar on Facebook was making regular changes to their interface. People were like, oh my gosh, now I don't know how to use it again.
Right.
Have to start all over. So I think that that's been the biggest challenge, probably outside of cost, is it's almost like learning a new system.
But let's look at that from a business perspective, because we talked about, McKinsey said, what do you do from a business leadership perspective? One is the functionality hasn't been dramatically enhanced, right? It's kind of the same stuff that's been repackaged. So you aren't getting greater value in terms of functionality. It costs more, so that's a negative. And you have the training issue of people being disoriented, which is a negative, which is why people haven't adopted. Now, the amazing thing on the other side, because the acquisition was Micros Fidelio, right? And so you had Micros in terms of point of sale system. Look at what Oracle has done with putting that stuff into the cloud, and it's awesome. I mean, that platform really takes full advantage of the cloud, works fantastically, but Oracle never put in the, basically the funding and the resources to make that happen. And again, in fairness to Oracle, you go through their interface, book. It's, I can't remember, 80 pages of probably 4-point type with I don't know how many columns for the matrix of what interfaces with what. It's a disaster, right? Because everything is just totally proprietary and custom built. And but again, they need to have a pathway out of that, which creates value for the hotel owners. And we'll see if they can do it. Oracle could do it. But the question is, can they do it with their desired margins and how they operate the rest of their businesses? Or, do they want to take a little bit of a loss leader approach to get hospitality on the path and then go try to dominate? Or if they looked at this and went, let's try to just keep what we have. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Let me ask you a question of Lily. Lily, do you feel it better? You deal with them much more directly than I do when it comes to these kind of platform integration usages and so forth. Is it better to rip the Band-Aid off completely or to slowly transition UI interfaces? Like you said, look, it's completely different. Is it easier to just say, learn it new or progressively change and frustrate? Because when you were talking like that, I remember in the back end for Facebook, where you're talking about the front end, I was talking about the back end for Business Manager. They're constantly tweaking little things. Right. One minute I'm going in and it's like, where the hell did that go? It's like, all of a sudden now it's out of this instead of over there. And, and it's a little thing, but it's an annoying thing. I mean, and me, I'm like, well, just change it all at once and then I'll figure it out. And then there's other times where I'm like, well, I guess this is probably an easier way for just a little bit by little bit. What is your thought? Do you like one way versus another?
Well, I think in this particular use case, it wouldn't have been possible for them to do a little bit at a time. Although I will say that there's a toggle in the new Opera Cloud where you can kind of view it the old layout, but it doesn't kind of tell you where do you go from this to this. And I think that's the key piece that I think is missing no matter what you do, is if you're going to have the same functionality, but you're just changing the user interface, there should be a mapping translation. previously you found this here. Here's where you go for the same thing here. And really just even creating all of their help documents in that nature. Otherwise, though, if you had the capability to do it a little bit at a time, I'm only a fan of a little bit at a time if it's clear releases where you know exactly what's been changed. And with Opera having multiple modules like PMS and configuration and whatnot, I might do kind of rip the band off on a module in theory. But really, if you're going to go all out with something like Opera Cloud, then ripping the Band-Aid off is probably a good way to do it, because really it's a new PMS install in this case.
It absolutely is, and that's the big problem.
Your PMS, yeah.
Right, and the business problem is if you're doing that, all of a sudden, the hoteliers who are considering it, it's in their best interest to consider alternatives at that point, right? Because at that point you aren't locked in if you're changing so much, and there isn't a seamless navigation path where they go, oh no, and again, that's really expensive and very, very difficult for Oracle to do, and I'm sure would not be cost effective to just say, yeah, all your stuff, here's the migration, we're paying for it, and look at this, you're on the cloud. That doesn't work, but all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, before we do this, it is going to cost money. Should we go to look at Stay in Touch? Should we go look at whatever? Yeah, let's go march around and start firing out RFPs. And at that point, that's a bad situation for Oracle because it's putting their core at risk. So it's like, well, then don't introduce that. Just let them stay on what the old stuff, which is bad. So yeah, they've got some interesting management challenges of how they get the other 38,000 properties to.
I don't think this is our same. I don't think this is our same Lex, but Lex is asking from Colorado. I don't think it's the same Lex.
Lex Luthor? Oh
no, not Lex Luthor. We usually have a Lex with us on here. They're not here today. She isn't here today, but I have another Lex. I think it's not good. And saying that, they actually, when they went to upgrade, they actually changed platforms because they realized that they wanted to consider options before purchasing or repurchasing into it. So yeah, they actually stepped off platform. And I have to take a testament in a small scale of that. I used to use Apple's Final X software for doing video editing. And then their last pro upgrade, they took all the professional tools and shoved them into subfolders so that the UI was more simplistic for people to use. And it frustrated so many more advanced users because instead of having a simple one step, it's now 3 steps. I have to go open and go down and open and then use the functionality of it. So you can't please everybody. I mean, they did that to hopefully make more people more comfortable using it that didn't have advanced usages, but it totally blew off everybody that had advanced usage requirements that now is a longer process to do some functionalities. So, and I stopped using it and ended up using it from platform because it made me stop for a second, oh, this is frustrating. And I started looking at options, and I found another option that worked better for me than what Final X was doing. So, you run that risk. That's why I was kind of curious. But okay, sure.
I mean, my overall hope is that the whole push to Opera Cloud means that they're going to introduce new functionality, because obviously their cloud-based GUI also allows them more flexibility in changing things as opposed to a legacy system.
Mm-hmm.
Hope would be that they're positioning themselves to get into things that are meaningful that we've been needing for a long time to help us with things like revenue management and profitability. So that's my hope, is that they're positioning themselves to do that. But I think that they're going to be handicapped by the exorbitant pain points to switch to the cloud. And if they can remove those, that would be helpful.
Well, I was on a call yesterday, actually, I'm an executive advisor for HTNG, right? Hospitality Technology Next Generation. Great associate. They are doing fantastic stuff from a tech perspective. And it was interesting because the topic of the conversation was basically keyless entry, right? And so that's fine, and that's fairly defined. The topic basically shifted throughout, and the bottom line, which was a little bit uncomfortable, because you had all the main door lock guys on the call, right, and a bunch of hotel group senior tech people, and somebody came up and just said, wait a second, why do we care about door locks? right? And everybody kind of, what? He goes, look, it's just this one little feature. What we are talking about is an identity, right? How do you define the identity of the guest? How do you validate that identity? And then how do you provide access, right? So this is an access issue, because it doesn't matter if it's a door lock. And so there's one hotel group, I won't say who, but very, very forward thinking, not one of the biggest ones, back to Lauren's point of being more nimble, but these guys are now assigning a permanent ID for that guest, their loyalty membership. That is your digital identity, which you retain for life. And they are then going to use that to federate all of the services and go, well, good, that's Lily. And what they want to get it onto, and there's a huge obstacle because Apple does this for other industries, they do not allow it in travel. And so I'll express my conspiracy theory, but it's basically Apple has their wallet, right? And you have a nice little digital certificate in there. And that's what allows you to go around and tap things, and Apple Pay works. And isn't this great? You can get your loyalty cards in there, and everything's mapped out, and it's yours, and it's secure, and it's fantastic. That is not enabled for the hotel industry or the travel industry. Why? Because my theory, Apple has these old iTravel patents from 2012, which basically goes, hey, we got a patent on how we connect all the dots with travel, with boarding passes to go here, to get into the hotel. I think Apple's still looking at that, at how they monetize this. But this guy basically said, and I am 100% on board, that you just go, this is your ID. And then once you take it from that perspective, you go, great, what do you want to do? I need access to these various hotel rooms that I'm staying at every week or every 2 weeks or once a year or once every 5 years. It doesn't matter. Let me go to, hey, I want to go watch my Netflix on the screen. I want to get onto the hotel Wi-Fi the second I walk in the door without having to know passwords and SSIDs that are getting spoofed by the guy next door. How do you do all that? Well, this would certainly be a great start. So this is also the group that uses an enterprise service bus, right? So their whole thing is, this is our data, and then you bolt on services. So I say that's the end case. That's where everything winds up. And Oracle has to figure out how to get there from where they are, which is the antithesis of it. So this is the whole blow up the PMS into just services, right? And
Right.
So anyway, interesting conversation. And I think the door lock guys were like, oh crap, right? Because they're tying into all these PMS. He's like, why do you do that? He basically said, why don't we just tie to the wallet, right? And you tie to the wallet, and then you don't need any of this other stuff. You don't need the hotel app, right, at all, which again, the hotel brands want people to have hotel apps because that's how they engage. That's how they can track them. That's how you lock them in and can do all sorts of stuff from a marketing upgrade. You don't need that. All you need is a device.
Interestingly enough, on similar subject, at no time was there ever an Oracle conference app.
Right.
I found really interesting for a technology.
You would think for a technology company that'd be like, yeah, let's pop that together real quick.
Right.
Speaking of wallets, let's take the article of second wallets, because it's a term that's not often used. It's not in reference to what you just said, because that's an electronic wallet, but second wallet in the concept of how people financially segment their purchase decisions.
Yes.
And the fact that, and this is kind of like, I appreciated this article because it shows the blind eye that brand does compared to the more aggressiveness that independent hotels tend to approach. Because for independent hotels to be the mouse that roars in their market compared to brand heaviness at times, is the ability to show their additional value proposition beyond room and rate, which is considered what would be first wallet in the context of this article, which is, okay, how do I get there? How much is it? How much is it for me to stay? Where am I staying? Those are primary first wallet decisions. Then the secondary wallet decision is how much and where am I going to eat? What is it? And how much is I'm going to do when I'm there? And all those decision processes tend to be based on a different financial paradigm compared to the first level decisions. And that's where I always feel independent hotels have a strength in messaging. Because if in the ability, which is limited by brands, to be able to allow the property to indicate its uniqueness into market, its value proposition, I believe there's a huge gap between brand support and the actual property level capabilities, there's this gap point that never gets filled unless the property rises up to it and fills it themselves. And right now, their only real leverage points are social interaction. That's a lateral move outside of the franchise bottle that they're put into, that they still have a voice that they can stretch elsewhere. And the ones that do it well are successful. The ones that don't do it all sit and wait for brand to send them the business. And that's where the independents can take business from them, because we can talk about things like nearby restaurants beyond the parodic 5 restaurant selections of local interest that are just hyperlinked at best. We can expand content about it. We can actually create incentives for them to go to these restaurants if we reach out to them personally and actually connect it to what we're offering at the hotel. Delivery services, entertainment venues, events. We can create those connections that brand just doesn't allow brand hotels to do. And that second wall is a real value proposition. So anyway, that's my soapbox on that one.
I was kind of intrigued by this article, which prompted a few questions in my mind, which are, if we have that second wallet and it's really segmented, are people taking that into consideration when they're going through the booking process and we have those handy dandy little add-ons, like add-on breakfast, add-on a dinner, whatever the case may be? And to that note, how does the consumer behave when they encounter a package that includes second wallet items?
Right.
And does that make them more or less likely to increase their budget that you're capturing through the booking engine process specifically? So those were, I don't really have answers for them, but some rhetorical questions maybe. From my perspective, that I was curious to know if there's more information out there about the psychology of that booking process when we're dealing with the second wallet. Because I do, being a huge fan of total revenue management, I think that this is such an important topic, is how are you capturing this? And is it more effective to not try to add it through the booking process, but instead to do it through pre-arrival emails or check-in offers or various things like that?
Yeah, and there's going to be an outstanding Focusrite article on this whole end-to-end purchase, total travel engagement thing coming out, I think, in April or May, I believe. And the author, he's a little bit older, but he's very wise. I don't know. He's working very hard on it, I hear. But no, so I'm working, and yeah, it's interesting. That is, the article's not going to go into the psychology and what really works, but all the different dimensions, because I've mentioned on the show, there are 5 types of packaging, right? And the industry is bad at almost all of them. So the first one is just the hotel wants to sell a golf package, or even if a full American plan, right? The meals are included. The way the paradigm works now in terms of shopping, that hotel looks more expensive. It may be creating more value because you're like, wait a second, that includes breakfast, that includes meal. Right now, that's just like a little note that includes breakfast, right? It's not really. Right. Yes, in some of them you can search on it, but it's tough to navigate. So the industry's not good at that. The second one is kind of just interchangeable components. And so that's okay. That's what all packaging is now. You just kind of merge them together, and then, yes, the intermediary who's booking this stuff sets the pricing, right? And doesn't necessarily relate to the pricing that's provided by the hotel, which might be 50% off. But they go, hey, you don't need 50% off. You only need about 15% off. We're going to keep the rest as margin because that's all the consumer really wants. And goes. So they aren't good at that. Doesn't work well for the hotels. The third one winds up being true dynamic packaging, which no longer exists. That was the Neat Group patent from the 2000s, which is now owned by Expedia, and they won't do, because that was truly democratic packaging where everybody brought in their own offers, and the distributors and the suppliers and the bundling rules basically surfaced the most effective and highest value package. Expedia now owns that. They do not want to go there. That hurts their margins, right? So fourth one is sequential packaging. And sequential packaging is you bought this and now you're eligible for that. And I think, Lily, that's what you're hitting, is how do you make that really easy? Because some people may not, a lot of hotels offer, buy this and you get breakfast every day, right? And all you have to do is pay an additional, and maybe it's only $10 more for the room, and you've got 2 or 3 people in there, and you go, wow, that's a great value. But what if you aren't eating breakfast every day, right? You don't need it every day. There's not really an ability to mix and match, and a lot of people might not know, right?
Right.
But again, it's how do you structure these kind of continual value adds to say, hey, we're really happy, the kind of gratitude perspective. We are happy that you're one of our customers, and hey, if you want to, that's great. You can do this at any time, and we're pleased to have you. And if you book it in advance, you can save. If you kind of lock in, we can cut you a deal. If you don't want to lock in, that's fine. You want flexibility, you're going to pay a little bit more. But those things I think consumers really understand very, very well. But again, the industry is horrifically bad at merchandising that stuff, right?
Well, it goes back to, and this goes back to the type of travelers that we're trying to go for. When I travel, especially for business, I try to stay to your point earlier, Lily, about the loyalties. I like hotels that have free breakfast.
Right.
I'm not a morning person. I'm not out to go seek new adventures and new discoveries. I'm certainly not wanting to go sit in a line that I didn't anticipate because I didn't give myself enough time to go to the restaurant and find out that me and 500 other people had the same idea.
Who all want to get out really quick.
Yeah. I don't mind the cattle trough of the Residence Inns worlds where you get, it's the same stuff. Now, to that being said, there's times like when I was just in New York recently, I went down and beautiful hotel, great location, and they had rubber eggs and turkey sausage. And I'm like, I just was not the mood for rubber eggs and turkey sausage that day.
Ryu Plaza, Times Square, amazing buffet, very busy, expertly handled. I mean, the execution of that buffet, it was high volume, fresh food, well presented, clean, clear. They had it down. Yeah. Right.
And those are nice rare experiences that happen to it. So that being said, I agree to breakfast every day may not be a breakfast that everybody wants every day, but 2 variations to what I've done with my clients that are answering to both of the things I think you brought attention to was I give them a credit to local places around there. We've done this with our New York clients where they don't have food and beverage operations. And so there's some amazing diners immediately, walk out the door, take a left, there it is, or around the corner, take a right. And we've made arrangements where we've now pre-sold a value proposition that is recognized at that place, saying, look, as a part of us, you can either buy, we've done 2 ways. We've done it as a value add, and we've done it as a pre-purchase through what an article I'm about to drop in right now, which is the other one you pointed out, that we are terrible communicators. Mm-hmm. Once we get the booking, it's like we ignore them until they show up on our doorstep. Right. There's no continued conversation of improving their anticipation of their experience with us. Like, hey, before you come in, and not always a pre-sell, not a, hey, you're lucky, you can be upgraded if you want for another, not the constant sale pitch, but now that you're coming to join us at XYZ dates, which is just a dynamic field in an email, okay, please know that Freeman's is right around the corner. It is an amazing deli that does this and this, and here's some pictures of some of the food. So you have this anticipation of quality and what you might think you'd want to experience. And then say, if you want to, we can give you a credit card, a card for worth $50 that you only have to pay $25 for. And little did they know, we went with Freeman's and said, let's split the cost value. Okay.
Right.
You eat half, I eat half, and we get somebody and I got somebody. And do those kind of things. We've done that. We've done it where instead of giving them free breakfast every day as a part of the buy-in process, we've just simply said, here's a card worth X dollars. If you use it for breakfast, where you see $14.95 retail for the breakfast, you're only paying $10. Okay, so you got 5 breakfasts if you want it for $50, or if you don't use it for breakfast, it's whatever retail value is. We'll give them the hook for breakfast, but we'll let it go full retail for the rest of them. It's just different ways, but none of this makes sense when you're checking in at the front desk. You're being hit with all this stuff, and all you want to do is get to your room. Okay, this is all
of it by the time you get there.
Yeah, right. That has to be communicated in a way that's not invasive. It's communicative, and that it's not hard selling you anything. It's just trying to enhance. If you can get that message voice across, they're people like, man, next time I go back to New York, I know there's other options. I know there's tons of places, but I like this. I love the place I ate at. I love the place I stayed at. It all works out for me. It's good, Yeah. Unless there's another reason to be somewhere. So that's
how do you create value for the guest? And the only way you can do that is look at those guest personas, right? Mm-hmm. Because you go, hey, this person is really busy. They are not interested in having conversations and getting the sales pitch and doing. They're just trying to accomplish what the purpose of the trip was. And you have now stopped them for the benefit of the hotel with zero benefit to the consumer. And that's the stuff that needs to be eliminated, right? Those are the friction points that just need to go. But then you start looking at it and going, okay, well, here's someone who's the super planner in advance. What can we do to give the super planner something to go with? Or here's a person who's just the seat of the pants reacting to what the current whatever's going on. That's fine too, but you have to consider these are how people behave, and do you have something that really kind of fits in and helps them, as opposed to trying to make them fit into your process, which and you can certainly do, but I don't know. Maybe try to create value for them, make their trip easier.
This article you pulled, Robert, from Hospitality Net, I like the key findings as being key findings. I mean, I downloaded the full report too, and I started digging into it before we started the show. I didn't read all of it yet.
Yes,
but I think there's some interesting points to this, and this isn't about the dramatics of the fact that an OTA is stealing business from them. That's a given. All right, when they say almost travel book through third party, that's a given. That's a lost opportunity for us.
That's why they exist. That is their business model.
Right, and I'm a fervent believer that if it takes first generation for them to come find me because of the third party, I'm okay with that. It's when I don't bring them back directly on their second visit that I feel that we're failing our
absolutely
task. So there's that aspect of it. So I can't say that we're just losing business to them. I say that there's a mix of losing it, and if you don't get it back the second time, then you did lose it. But the other ones were 1 in 4 travelers feel that they're adequately rewarded for their loyalty, indicating there's a room for improvement where it comes to retention and loyalty strategies. We're not making this a priority to our guest-facing staff that we look for every opportunity to reward our people that stay with us, rather than thinking, hey, if they didn't notice, I'm not going to give it, which seems to be prevalent. And then the other, nearly 1 in every 3 customers say they rarely or never receive relevant communications from travel brands. That's why I threw that up in our context of conversation. Is the one thing about third parties is at least it's a one-stop shop for finding out more about where they're going to, where we may not be the authority to it, which goes to another article that you have, which I wanted to point to, which was how to be in for the 20 steps of the 20 trends of 2020, of things that the people need to be aware of when it comes to digital marketing, of how to show up, basically, which I don't mind throwing up there as well. But just I want to focus on this one where it's like we don't do well being the authority for what we are. So when people find us as a hotel, they're only finding us as us maybe and little else beyond that. And they have to go elsewhere to find it. So third parties win because they have more about what they're coming as a destination. As we said, from the second wallet perspective, once I figure out where I want to stay, what else is there I need to know? We're not good at that. We don't do that well.
Which is so ironic, because if you're a hotelier, maybe what you should be really good at is understanding what the guests who are staying in your hotel, why they're staying there and what they want to do. You would think you're open 365 days a year. You've got 200 rooms that are running whatever. That's a lot of people. So you should have that and be able to figure those things out. So
right.
I didn't mean to dominate the conversation, but that just goes to my whole theme of what I saw in your articles today about how brand loses and how they're diminishing their value proposition because they aren't addressing these things. They aren't getting better at this. Even their apps and so forth engagement are really more conciliatory, concierge-based, in-house functionality improvements and retention that you have to stay on it to use it, rather than find elsewhere other information pieces, because their local content, their ability to help you in a concierge level are minuscule. They're
because it's hard to scale profitably, right? Because again, the model of the brand is not to go investment spend a bunch of things which create value for the owner's profit and loss statement, right? And that doesn't reflect. They don't want to expend all that expense that they don't have a direct ROI on. That's a tough business model conflict. So instead, what do they focus on? Let's get more members. Right? They can do that. That's a nice metric. They go, hey, we got 140 million members or whatever. But the real key is, and now they're saying, oh, and 60% of the people staying in our hotels are members. It's like, well, yeah, because you're saying to get free Wi-Fi or whatever, you have to be a member. So everybody's getting it. I mean, yes. So you should be looking at this going, why aren't 100%? That makes no sense, right? Why would a third of your guests be, not members? So yeah, but that's the race. But it's not really what's what's happening, what are the outcomes for the guest, right? That's the bottom line. Or how do you improve guest outcomes, give them higher satisfaction levels, and build some sort of resonance with your brand where you are becoming more of a preferred alternative for them. I mean, that's the ultimate game. And unfortunately, a lot of the major brands aren't really doing it. Some of them don't have the data to do it, and some of them who have the data to do it, they don't have the financial incentives in place because they are just a brand. They don't own, they don't operate, so they're missing out on those sorts of incentives. So all of a sudden, the rewards are not matched up to what should be happening from a business model perspective, which is not great. So
guys,
go ahead,
but I actually have to leave early today.
Oh,
because Lily has lost interest in the conversation.
No, not at all. But, I have one of those paying clients who's expecting. What? So
wait, Lily, Lauren doesn't pay you to be on the show? What?
Robert, we said we wouldn't talk about that.
I can neither confirm nor deny, but regardless, I can say it's better for my profitability if I attend this.
Lauren has given each co-host a 70% revenue share.
Yes.
Yes.
All the revenues from the website.
Yes. From all the revenues, yes.
Yeah.
Well, Lily, I was about to say, since I've been leading everybody by the nose on the topics today, I was going to let you do pick of what you would like to talk about. Do you have time for that, or do you really got a bolt? Ooh.
Yeah, actually, I have a couple more minutes. So
she's like, if it's something I want to talk about, yes. Can I get a word in edgewise? I would be happy to be.
I have like 5 minutes, so we have to keep it keyed in. But I wanted to just kind of discuss, because something that's come up a lot recently with my clients has been influencer. And I noticed that was here. And so I was kind of curious. One of the things that we've been brainstorming with a couple of clients was whether or not we could actually start to use the individual user, because another thing that we've been looking at is whether or not influencers are still as influential, or if people realize that they're influencers and they care actually a lot more about what their friends and family think. So string deals kind of along the lines of how many posts and likes will you produce while you're here for the average person who, and using that as sort of a discount metric as an offer for their stay. And I'm just kind of curious what your sort of thoughts are on that versus your traditional influencer in the light of the article.
Robert had a really good presentation a year ago on influencers at the digital marketing conference at the time, and he made some very good points about it. I will say I'm happier now with the influencer market than I was a year ago.
Well, yeah, some of the really awful ones have been kind of sorted out a little bit. But the key is it's not how many followers they have or how many posts or who else uses them, things like that. It's the engagement of their base. And unfortunately, in classic Facebook fashion, stuff that used to be free where you could go figure this stuff out on your own, now you can only find if you are a paid advertiser, right? So that's a little bit of a challenge. But the entire world now for influencers is really Instagram. I mean, that is the bottom, the bottom line. And you can kind of see, I would say, even architecturally, how these influencers are structuring their businesses. And again, in the hotel industry, it is not working very well. In fashion, it's freaking amazing, right? With how they're doing it. I mean, these guys have metrics. They know the sell-throughs of everything because they've got to report back to every brand that's saying, hey, what about that scarf? What about those shoes? What about those belts? They've got that all figured out. Even when it's we're talking about a combination of, it's a package with all this sort of stuff. These guys are selling outfits from different providers, right? I mean, that's a pretty complicated, what's driving the outfit, what's working, what's not. Really working well in fashion, and just not even to square one yet in travel. But the key is you've got to figure out some stats on what is the engagement of their following, who are their followers, what's the likelihood of those followers being interested in your, product, and they could have a really cool, super trendy, fantastic, but if that doesn't fit you have to do some soul searching on what is your product and what's your brand and why are you there and who are you looking for. Then you can do great things, but.
I'll add it to for the time constraint for what Lily has is I've shifted what my priority is for influencer usage. To everything Robert said, that's the way I used to and still to a degree value influencers. My value proposition for influencers is literally organic value at this point. I don't have people at property that are adept at talking about themselves or their content or their value proposition to the market. So I find influencers that this is their skill set. This is their capabilities. I do want them to encourage people to stay based on those that follow them and engage with them and so forth. And I've gotten very fine out about my demand requirements when I contract with influencers to what my expectations are. How many pictures, how many images, not throwing up on a temporary storyline. What is it that I'm actually asking you to make sure gets brought into your conversation of content? But more importantly, it goes to the organic values of the Google Zero proposition, the authoritative value of what they are linking to on my website. I augment what the influencers are doing by adding content to the site, specifically echoing what they're talking about, and in reverse, them echoing what I already have. But to overemphasize our value proposition of our content so that I do get authority on stuff that I would normally not get authority on, like restaurant selections, event venues, activities nearby, so forth and so on, that I don't have the individual authority to do, but because of my connectivity to what they do with links and good content, keys and anchor text and so forth, and then what influencers augment with that amplifies my opportunity to step into some of that Q&A that Google's throwing around about when you want to know about something. Now I'm the link that they're showing for it because I brought that content in because of the authority influencers augmented for me. Right. So I've taken a different value proposition to what influencers can do. I still don't discount what they've done and what they could do based on just driving business, but really my focus is on how well they can amplify my messaging.
That's great.
So,
and that's the right way to do it.
So if you were to rank influencer marketing, blogs produced by the subject hotel or company, and social media produced by the subject hotel or company, how would you rank those in order of importance for brand awareness? This may vary by hotel, but just broadly. The independent I'm thinking of right now, I'll just take the San Antonio example. I would go social content, influencer content, blog posts, because blog posts has to be discovered based on core inquiry
content,
compared to the other two are based on diversity of audience. So I would put blog as the third out of the three because that content's specific to discovery compared to the value proposition of discovery based on social exposure and a volume of audience.
And I would say ideally if you can get all three working together, because if you have things that you're talking about socially that you can have amplified by an influencer, right, which is fine, and then even do blog posts. I mean, Lauren, are you doing stuff where you're actually also supporting the influencer, where you're providing?
Yes, that's what I mean.
So if you can make it reciprocal, it's not just, hey, can you do a post to here and we get a link, and that's it.
No.
All I wanted was a link.
We're going to talk about what you're going to talk about.
Go, look at these guys are an expert on honeymoons or romance travel or the best burgers in the wherever or this. Here's really cool things. And yes, maybe it isn't your burger place that you own in the hotel, but it's the one that's around the corner that you have a relationship with, and you figured out, hey, we've got all these people in our hotel who come in who don't know what to do, but boy,
the influencer finds things in our markets that we didn't even know ourselves.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I've had the exposure where our hoteliers think, oh, we know everything there is to know about our market, and then an influencer comes in with their audience perspective, and they find stuff that. Really? Okay. Perfect example, Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives had something around the corner. We never knew it. And it was never known. And to them, it's the regular place that it's always been, but they didn't know that it had gotten highlighted that way. The influencer brought that into the conversation. We augmented it with content on our website. Boom. All of a sudden, we're in connection with them now. And we went so far as to go out to them and say, look, we're highlighting you on our site. We brought an influencer in that talked about you. can we do something here? Can we give a discounted coupon, an offer to people that are coming in that we just say, hey, you got to check this out. This is amazing. Just made the, national TV show,
Or even work with them and say, hey, we're having a staff, our staff meeting. Can you do food for it or something like that? Can we do something that helps their business? And all of a sudden they go, well, they don't know that you do 24 staff meetings a year or something like that. They just got the one, which is great, right? And so, if you can do things like that where it's the mutual interest of these businesses, and you go, this is a really good business who has a really good story, and we really like, and this is fantastic. How do we work together? Well, it isn't just send us business, or how are we going to go somehow talk about them and try to get that SEO value so we can rank higher. It's like, no, let's work with them and see if we can do something back and forth.
Lily, I know you got to jump. So if you want to know more about TCRM and Think Up.
Twice in one show.
Wow.
Getting better.
And he doesn't remember
where is it they
anything.
can find about you and about the programs that you're running?
The latest you can find at thinkupenterprises.com, where we do revenue management consulting with a focus on sales and marketing and profitability integration. And you can also go to tcrmservices.com to see more on day-to-day revenue management, task force, and outsource services.
And if they want to reach out to you, how would they find you?
They can reach me. My primary email that I'm using is Lily, Lily, at tcrmservices.com.
Awesome. I appreciate your time. I know it is always fun for us to juggle. That's why we send out, we have so many co-host mixings because, we all have different days.
Exactly.
I appreciate it worked out for you today.
Next week, so I'll see you all then.
Okay, perfect.
Bye, Lily.
Thank
Thanks.
you again. Well, Mr. Robert, there's still a great many articles that you threw into this list. And like I said,
and we still have 4.5 hours of the show to fill, Lauren. So.
You might be doing that solo because I got a little bit of conflict myself later on.
Oh, I'm
today.
sorry. Yeah,
but
that's the new format of the show. Just 20. Oh, CNN did kind of start that 24-hour news. What about a 24-hour hospitality marketing channel, Lauren? You could be the
actually. If you look at the list of our shows, there used to be a platform called Firestarter, which was like a baby TV channel, and that once you put content on, it would just keep playing it in sequence and then start over again. But then they wanted to monetize it, those little silly people. And so, but if you were to take all 237 of our previous shows, you could watch nonstop. For almost 3 weeks before we would actually, almost 3 weeks, a little over 2 weeks, I should say, not almost 3 weeks, a little over 2 weeks of nonstop shows. And they would just simply roll over again. Yeah. Just think of it. They would see.
And is there like, do you have any analytics set up where you could trigger a hotline intervention or someone who was doing that sort of behavior? Because
I believe they're using
a red flag. That is.
I believe they're using Guantanamo for indoctrination.
I don't know that. Yeah, we would want to have that person would want to get checked.
Yeah, right. I did want to bring up one of the ones that I referred to earlier, which was your 12 things for 2020, the 12 essential steps, because I have to say, honestly, it was one of the first articles that was relatively insightful in my mind rather than clickbait.
Oh, yeah. Well, Search Engine Journal, they do a pretty good job, I think.
Yeah. Let me go and pull that link up real quick. They did. I thought that they did a great job.
It was pretty simple. It was a little. See, I actually thought when I posted this was kind of a more elementary sort of, like a 101 type article.
It is.
But I thought it was very well done. And I honestly thought the group may come to say, oh my God, this is like table stakes. You shouldn't be doing it. But the key is, how do you get these, if you aren't doing these foundational pieces properly, if it's kind of like, oh, I'm going to be really advanced. Well, if you aren't doing the basics right, you're going to have problems. You don't have that foundation built. And I thought this laid out the foundation very, very, very nicely. Just kind of 12 quick.
It did. I think if that the one part I enjoyed about it, even though it may seem simplistic, it's like, yeah, Captain Obvious, thank you, but it doesn't mean that it's getting done.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, you can tout about how basic it is, but if it was so basic, why is not everybody doing it?
Right.
I think even the first step of it, in referring to find searcher intent is the key element to this. If you look at the progression of conversation from Google and from everybody, at first it was micro moments and so forth, and it was all leading to this interpretation of what is it that they're trying to engage with? What is their intent to it? And even to the point where Google's latest well, I wouldn't say their latest because they've done one since then, but BERT in October, which was their bilateral interpretation of data with their AI interfacing, that rather than looking at a word for the context of being a keyword, they looked at the words around it to interpret what exactly that word was being used.
Context? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the context of it.
Jaguar, is that a sports car, an animal, or a professional football team? Right.
Victoria, is it the falls? Is it the city? Is it the queen? What cow? Is it the fish? Is it the bison? Bovine, excuse me. It's knowing beyond the definition of the word what the context of what the word's being used for. So you're seeing that this intent. Well, this translates into market strategy as well. It's not just what words are being used, which is still, unfortunately, most of the SEO discussion on people that just want to throw clickbait trash. Oh, you got to look at what are people searching for? No. You have to ask us, why are they searching for?
Right.
Okay. What are they searching for with it? What's the intent of those searches? Why are they looking for a Korean restaurant in downtown, wherever? Well, maybe because it's trying to make the decision of which hotel is closest, convenient, or valuable to that decision. We don't all just go airline ticket to hotel. Remember, we used to have the original question, which was between the chicken and the egg, which was first, the flight or the hotel booking?
Flight is always first. Well, I mean,
now,
for the air market, though, and everybody always completely discounted the drive market, right? Or at least the GDSs did, because they're like, hey, we don't get paid for people to drive.
Because there have been, depending upon demands of times of year, that you have to look to see if there's even a place to stay before you have a place to go to the way to travel there.
That's true.
Absolutely. When you're going to certain things, you have to see whether you can get there. I mean, to be there before you even know how to get there. But that we've learned over time has been the exception of the inversion. Usually, you're right. Usually, it's like it kind of, and back to our first.
They don't know how much the air costs either.
Right. They look first and second wallet. Do I have enough money once I get there to actually stay there and to do what I want to do?
Right.
And if that precludes the other ones, then that's a choice that's made, and they never get to looking for us.
Well, and that ties into that kind of second wallet discussion because, and I thought Henry was very good at coming up with that kind of concept. There are actually a bunch of wallets because it's like Maslow's needs hierarchy, right? You got to cover kind of the basics. So if a chunk of your revenue is getting absorbed by transportation to get there, yes, people do. They want to fly first class and stay in a suite and thing. All of a sudden they start going, like they're doing a honeymoon or something. They might go, oh wow, that's not going to work. So they're going to start making all these compromises of, okay, we're flying economy because then we'll be able to go.
Let's just get there, then we can stay where we want to stay. Exactly.
Right. And so all those are really personal decisions, which may very much depend on that one itinerary. They may not have a pattern of behavior where they always do this. It may just be on this one particular trip for whatever particular reason. And that's really, really hard to figure out. And AI is not going to help you do that. You've got to have a navigation and design and things like that, and content where people can find that really easily and figure out, oh, you're the best alternative for the you can work with me on this. This is good. So
right. Well, and it goes into and this goes into where people are finding their information from nowadays. We know that 20% of search is now voice based, and that's an old number.
Yeah.
Okay. We can only assume that is either grown or they're not just sharing it with us, whatever.
Yeah, but part of that is also not people searching for hotels and vacations.
No, but
a lot of it is navigate to whatever. Or what's the temperature and things like that.
Yeah,
right?
but here's the thing that I think is relevant that we're discounting disproportionately as well, and that is the very high up discovery.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
The dream discovery level. Okay.
Absolutely.
Where they don't know what it is that they're interested in. Something on TV, a music, a song, a person talking to them has triggered what's the best place to go in Denver, Colorado? Because somebody's talking about Colorado. They just saw a show in Colorado and they thought, oh, how pretty it was.
That'd be a cool place to go. Yeah.
Right. What things to do in Denver. And just to ask the thing, just see what they say, see if it still leads to their interest. That high dream phase discovery, we can play and we can actually go ahead of OTAs because OTAs are in that space.
They tried. Expedia had a few years ago, I think they even launched it with a Super Bowl ad, a brilliant campaign that was way up at the top of the funnel for like true inspiration. And I think they had an LGBTQ couple getting married or something like that. And it's like, hey, how's this going to, and it was kind of like, oh, Expedia will be there. Families connecting and doing really cool things. And you're just like, wow, this is inspirational, fantastic. This is why people travel. And they stopped it. I mean, they won all sorts of awards. It was brilliantly produced, impactful messaging, memorable, all that stuff. But guess what? They couldn't connect the dots into the top of the funnel, into the middle and the bottom to convert, which is what they get paid for.
Right.
It's like beautiful
but that
stuff.
Doesn't mean that we
Wish
can't pick
it
up the
worked.
mantle,
It didn't, so we're stopping that. Right.
So here's my rationale to this and it was brought up in this article about the inspirational aspect of looking and being the authority based on voice and so forth. Yeah. And I ask every time I speak somewhere, raise of hands, how many people know how to make sure that you show up in voice results? And nobody knows. Yeah. Nobody knows because there's a way of doing. There's a technicality of doing technology to do this. Your schema and so forth that allows you to show up for those things and your microstatements underneath your searches and everything and all these things that they don't know are out there. So my point to this is that when it comes to the inspirational aspect of this, that we can be that answer point to it, because down to show both of our ages, not every time did we have a question, did we want to go trudging down to the library and looking through, there's that decimal index system for a book about it. Sometimes we just wanted somebody to tell us a quick answer like, oh, Denver's beautiful. Not that we have to be down and find the Denver book
catalog.
In the library.
Yes, the card catalog. Actually, that will be an interesting thing on the show. I think, particularly maybe Stuart, Lily, and Stephanie, maybe, right? To see if they know what a card catalog is.
A Dewey Decimal System?
Yeah.
Exactly. But anyway, sometimes you just didn't want to have to go and do that. I mean, you would if you found enough interest to make the effort, but sometimes you just want a directional intent. Like, hey, what's the best time to travel to Denver? Oh, springtime's wonderful, blah, blah. Oh, well, that fits into my travel plan. So let me go continue that process. Yeah. Sometimes it's just knowing whether or not it's worth more effort. And that's where voice, I think, helps. Like you said, a lot of those questions are, what's the temperature? Is it going to rain? What's the directions to such and such? How long is it going to take me to get to such and such? Yes. Yeah. But also important is sometimes the aspect when you're playing songs, music, so forth. You're playing. Just think about how arbitrary this is. You're listening to an artist and you go, "Oh, hey Google, where does Van Halen concert play next? Or does Van Halen have concert?"
Yep.
Those kind of things we can be in.
The Rolling Stones are going on tour again, right? My daughter sent me a thing because I told her, I said, hey, she hasn't seen them. Right. And so here's your chance. This may be the last chance to see them. They're going to be in Austin.
They're going to be wheeling out in the wheelchairs.
And I said, and I fully understand for the last 20 years, people have been saying this might be your last chance to see them still, regardless of that. But then she sent me, I think it was El Arroyo, which is a Mexican restaurant. It's well known in Austin. She sent me a little picture. I think they drove by and it says, we're giving away Stones tickets. Yeah. And I mean, the tickets aren't available yet. They don't have the tickets, but they're sitting there going, this is something, it's newsworthy. It happened that day, yesterday in Austin. Those are smart marketers. They're already going, oh, well, how do I do that? Oh, that's pretty cool. You guys are up on oh, you like the Rolling Stones too. I don't know. Maybe there isn't a bunch of strategy to it, but maybe maybe there is. That's the kind of thing where all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, yeah, let's see if we can win some Stone tickets and get some good Mexican food at the same time. And if we don't win the tickets, big deal. Yeah.
Right. And just to wrap up this one article, there's more.
We should go through. Let's just go through the quick 12 steps. Right.
Okay. So we have 5
steps to create robust digital strategy this year. Find search or intent.
Yep. Align digital assets with content strategy, which is yes. Mm-hmm. Focus on entity search. Yes. And what we mean by entities is the way they describe it, schemas on bank websites drive online product sales. Bank is not only a financial institution. It's making sure that you are what you are on everything that you have representation of authority on.
Where are your ATMs? what hours are your branch
Right.
branch
What the
open,
phone
because
numbers
they have to
are,
wind
what
up
the geographic
there.
location is,
Where your
what your services
ATM, that's
are.
really different. All
Yeah.
that stuff is really important.
Yeah. Get ready for voice search is step 4. Step 5 is leverage critical FAQ data across multiple platforms. And this is one of the other highlights that if you say it's common sense, yes, but nobody's doing it. This is how you show up in Google Zero, is making sure that your authentication as to what you're related to is properly indexed in your schema, in your content, so that it answers those questions. And because of its usage, you become the authority in that answer. That's a key element to that.
Yeah, and your your Google My Business listings, very, very important.
Oh yeah, and they're expanding the usability of the Google Business listing as to what it can do. I mean, you can even put 360 videos in this if you didn't know, which is pretty cool stuff too.
Yeah.
Making sure, obviously, step 6, have accurate, enhanced information across all channels. That's your NAP information, name, address, phone number. That's the stuff that goes into if you want to use local Moz Local or the Hoth or all these platforms, or Yelp, not Yelp, but what am I thinking of? Not Yelp. Yext.
Oh, yes.
Platforms to go over and distribute so that you have commonality of this information on what you would be surprised is literally thousands of platforms. Okay.
So we've discovered the way Lauren's brain works is he files things alphabetically, because Yelp and Yext, the YEL was coming up and blocking the YEX. So, yes.
Right. Step 7, optimize for traffic and give people the right answer. Again, that goes back to proper FAQ information. Yeah. Step 8, saturate SERPs and universal results. Again, content authenticity, accuracy, and usability. That's the key element to that. Yeah. Step 9, aim for the best user experience. Again, you go duh, but it's
all of these are duh, but it's like yes, yeah. And it says your website should demonstrate authority, sound technical SEO, relevancy, speed, and clickability. And the clickability, I think, is more navigation, right? That you can just get, it makes sense. And they know where to go. Like on this page, oh, there's a call to action, which would lead me to the next logical step of what I'm trying to do.
Don't over clutter thinking you have to put the kitchen sink. Not everything has to be in one spot.
Yeah, because somebody's shouldn't be arriving at that page to do 40 different things. If it's 40 different things, maybe you need 40 different pages, or maybe you need to cluster 5 pages of 8 things, or 8 pages of 5 things. Whatever makes sense.
It goes into the fact that we no longer just have a single entry point to a website because of Google's ability to not penalize you for deep linking anymore. That means that they're going to refer to deep linking if that's the best place to go to for the SERP result, rather than driving you to the index page and then having to rediscover the source of the connection. It'll drive it to a deep link. So keeping that in mind, you have primary navigation always on your index page, but that doesn't mean everything is available through that primary navigation. Some things have to be navigated into to be discovered.
And you have your site architecture too. So if you can start aligning these FAQs where it makes a nice kind of nice hierarchical structure where you're talking about locations or the destination and restaurants or activity. And all of a sudden you start going out and you start breaking out Asian restaurants versus, whatever, Italian restaurants, whatever that may be. And sometimes it comes out to just the naming of the strings, what are the title of the pages, all this very straightforward SEO stuff. But again, if you can do all that with your architecture, that just makes it that much easier for Google and the schema, applying good schema to it. It can figure out what you're talking about. And if Google has an idea of what you're trying to communicate about these topics, and the content makes sense, then that's probably pretty good for the consumer to wind up. And Google will figure out, should I take them down to the whatever, let's say you're in Hawaii, right? Maybe they're just looking at all over Hawaii versus the islands. Or are you drilling down to Oahu? Or are you drilling down to Honolulu? And you could make an argument for a Hawaiian hotel that's located in Honolulu or Waikiki. You should have relevance across all of those different topics, because you don't just want to be people looking at Waikiki because they may not know what Waikiki is. They've never heard of Oahu. All they've heard of was Hawaii and whatever, Honolulu maybe.
Yeah. Step 10 is the right answers can be monetized. At first, I read this wrong from what their intent was. I was like,
yes, yeah.
And then I had to go back and think about it and say, okay, no, this makes sense. This is really associating yourself with the action item that you're offering based on the relevancy of what you're referring to. So in their case, they're pointing out the need for connecting to events and then making it available that if they want to book a room with you because of that event, say as an example. So your monetization is based on an action that you're related to for what you're featuring as content.
So you're saying you're testing with putting paywalls in front of the answers that they're looking for was unsuccessful. That
give me $1.
Reduce your conversion and your engagement. I see. Okay.
Yeah, right. No,
our bounce rate skyrocketed when
right.
Make you pay for the right answer.
Yeah, holistic strategy across all channels. I mean, that kind of sounds like a fluffy statement. I'll have to give it that it's a little over. Like, a synergistic engagement of, like-minded, you use fluffy words, but I think what they're really trying to point to is the fact that you don't inappropriately misbalance one prioritization over another. This is balancing that all of these things have an interrelated value that's pretty much equal, that with one being lesser than the other will diminish all the rest. So keeping that all of them have a level of importance when properly connected to each other. Is how I kind of read that one.
And it was nice because they had a little chart in there that said measurable impact, and they broke up about 7 different user experience. Yes, you can track that by speed and mobile and things like that. Crawl health indexability, right? You got some technical. You go, hey, we've got errors on the page. That's not good. Relevancy for content marketing. That's good. Authority. Is links, local and links where it's like, we're getting linked from some pretty good sources. So we're an authority on this. Performance, which is very important for either, PPC or CRO, business intelligence. You've got all your analytics and clickability, right? Which gets into all your schemas, everything else, site fixtures. So there are tools and metrics to be able to measure the impact of these things. So not only are you doing the basics, but you're also setting up a structure where you can measure your performance on the basics is huge and incredibly helpful. Because again, if you're doing the basics and it's great and you can't measure it, how do you know it's great or not? Right? I mean, it's not, make sure you can measure this stuff. And then finally, the most important one, step 12, Lauren.
Convert knowledge into wisdom. See, that comes from age. And so you're very wise. Wise old man. No, but it is.
You have a framework that aligns the business objectives with the needs of the customer and your strategy to get results. Right? I mean, that's it. What is the objective of your business? Oh, it's to make money. What are the needs of the guests? They need to stay overnight. Oh, what's our strategy to do that? We're going to try to get them to stay longer, to go over the weekend or something like that, because there's so many cool things to do. How do you communicate that? And then did we measure it and go, oh yeah, look at this. We got an 8% uplift on people extending, kind of midweek stays into weekends. And how did we track that? We could see they initially did this search and then they went to this. Isn't that fantastic? Right.
Yeah. So. Now, I know that we still want to get to the boop and the rut row, but we only have about 9-ish minutes to kind of hit on some of this stuff.
I don't want to close in 30 seconds. I mean, actually, there's one I wanted to bring up. There's one part.
Is it the Google?
Oh, well.
No. Which one did you want to bring up? I don't mind. I was just saying I didn't want to miss the fact that
Avast shutdown of Jumpshot. This was a Rand Fishkin article. So I've mentioned on the show before that Jumpshot had incredible data. I mean, we're talking particular pages, frequent guest registrants of different brands. How were they converting on their brand versus your brand? Jumpshot had all this information. It was amazing. How did they get it? They were owned by Avast. So it was the antivirus folks who, for everything you do on your website, including depending on how it's set up, maybe even when you're in incognito mode, again, depending on how the software was set up. Because a lot of people go in incognito mode, but they still don't want viruses. Well, which would probably be, depending on the websites you're going to, might be a really good idea. But Avast would track that, the full URL string, so they could parse all that stuff out. And they had it all linked to sessions, right? So even though there wasn't personally identifiable information, it was everything this person did from this IP address on this, this particular thing. and it got shut down. Why? And I think I differ a little bit from Rand, and I've talked to him about this, that it's like, we love this data. It's fantastic, but it's the whole, you can use data for good or you can use it for evil. If somebody was using this data for evil, it would be really, really bad. And the question would be, do people really expect their antivirus stuff to be taken, put somewhere else, repurposed, and sold?
Well, I think honestly, just the writing on the wall between, it was indefensible for GDPR, let alone CCPA. Okay, it would eventually be, for all the efforts of gathering this, it would be unusable. It's like buying a URL that has the word Super Bowl in it. You'd never be able to use it, because as soon as you put it into the public, you'd be trounced with 1,000 lawsuits from the NFL. You just wouldn't be able to function with this stuff.
HubSpot, huge problem, where they used to have great email tracking where you could say, here's the person doing this and here's what they opened. It was mobile or whatever, and you send it to them. They don't have that anymore, right? Nope. And they weren't really upfront about pulling that out, because they're kind of like, oh, we've done some testing and it wasn't that important. It was like, bullshit, that was hugely important, but you are violating the private. The people never said, sure, you can tell them, when I opened that particular email on this device at this time, or actually they still have the opening, but it used to be what location on what kind of device and things like that, where it was great. You could send it to multiple people and go, oh, there's the thing, I've sent off to, sorry, Hilton, yes, I've tracked your stuff. You go, yeah, there's the stuff happening in McLean, Virginia. There's the stuff happening in, or Expedia. You could see stuff that was happening in Seattle versus Portland, Oregon, where, a particular group worked, versus London, all off the same email, and go, oh, here's how the thing's getting worked out. And now you can't see that anymore. What was on mobile, what was on desktop, hugely valuable, but Rand's saying it's going to destroy the internet. It will harm the web and the world. It's like, well, there's a certain aspect of privacy, and should marketers really have that information of knowing stuff that individual wasn't intending them to see? I don't know. Yeah, that's a slippery slope. So
so the BOOP, the 10 best all-inclusive resorts in the Caribbean, or do you want to do the rut row?
No, we should always do the BOOP before the rut row. These were very nice resorts, and I think people who look at, oh, I don't want an all-inclusive because that's going to be this crappy buffet line and, who knows, whatever. Wake up, folks. There's some really cool stuff out there.
Yeah, I mean, going back to our earlier conversation about satisfying what the guests would want and so forth, and communicating that correctly, I think that obviously these hotels, as beautiful and as amazing that they are, and they are some just absolutely stunning ones that you had in the list there, is the fact that they don't get to communicate it clearly, that people don't still have this persona of thinking what you just said. It's 15 flavors of Jell-O and watered down drinks. And it's the minimalist way of saying that they're taking credit for that they're offering all-inclusiveness, or that they're worse yet thinking that their all-inclusiveness, sure, they buy the first level only to be finding out they should have bought level 7 because level 1 is, tap water and
you don't get access to the specialty restaurants at all.
And that's still, to some degree, there's some leveraging in there about upselling the value proposition of all-inclusive. But the idea of it is that these ones, they do well, they're amazing, and it gives to the convenience factor that you don't have to worry about the second wallet value. You are included with what you're talking about, that when you get there, this is an expectation of price and cost to it. So in that sense, it's really cool stuff. And now,
but those are, I think, great resorts, virtually all independents or very small, very small chains, which are doing a great job. They aren't mass producing these experiences because the islands, again, it's the Caribbean. Each island is different, and each has a very different experience. And even though they had a couple different, they had Ladera and they had Jade Mountain, which are both, overlooking the Pitons and St. Lucia, really different resorts, and doing really different things. And
that's something people don't remember.
You look at Jade Mountain, you go, wait, it doesn't have a beach. The beach is way down below, and that sort of thing. That's not a beach resort. So,
well, it kind of goes back to the old adage of what people don't understand about the Caribbean, that when there's a hurricane in the Caribbean, they're like, oh my gosh, the whole Caribbean's, no, there's places in the Caribbean that never even have had a hurricane.
Right.
You know, that everyone sees it as one entity when in fact it's literally hundreds of islands, and they all are different. What you get in Aruba is not what you get in St. Lucia. What you get in San Juan, Puerto Rico is not what you're going to get even in the Virgin Islands, which is just closest to it. You know, they're all different, to your point. So,
well, and you look at ones where they're saying, you know, in Grenada or there's so many, you know, Dominica, all these different islands. There are great little off the beaten path places. There are great little hotels and great little all inclusive resorts all over the place. And and the key is, how do you find them effectively? Again, we were talking about how you search for these, and it's like, oh, I have to pick a destination. Right. I've got to pick, and the Caribbean's tough. You know, what are you going to do a search for? Jamaica? Well, you certainly aren't going to get anything in Aruba, sort of thing. And, you know, how do you do that effectively is really, really interesting. And I think that's going to be a huge growth area for how you can really focus on, how do you match up what people are looking for simply with here are the best results for what they would really kind of like. And that's where I think you start looking at the influencers and things like that for people who hone in on
get the message
really quality family travel, whatever, high-end travel, or you start working with particular travel agents or destination experts who really know that area. And so,
all right. So the rut row, man,
we could have had so many rut rows. Yeah, we could have all the Google stuff on Google knows what you look like, and the CEO of Clearview AI, which is a very creepy AI firm who believes he has a First Amendment right to billions of photos. It's like, you didn't take those photos. I'm not sure that's your First Amendment right of free speech at all. But yeah, there were tons of these Marriott with the points. All of these could have been very, very nice rut rows. But I thought this one from Travel Pulse, man uses rodents, excuse me, to scam hotels into offering free stays. So these, I believe, Lauren, are not service animals, as far as I could figure out.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So the guy was bringing in rats to go do this, and they've apparently try to scam some things. The really weird thing on this article, which I thought was just so off base, though, which I thought was a rut row in and of itself. It says, scams have become an all too common occurrence in the travel industry. As a result, American Hotel and Lodging Association, AARP, announced in December a coordinated campaign aimed at educating senior travelers to avoid travel scams. This is not travel scams.
I don't know how they put those two together.
I have no idea.
If you're going to do a separate article saying, hey, there's always things to worry about of over promising, under and not fulfilling, or people that are affiliate, salespeople, or people that are selling stuff that's not their product. Yeah, have an article about that, but throw this in the fact that some 37-year-old is throwing rats around. Yeah, no.
And they said they know he did it at 3 different hotels, but they think he must have done it in a lot of other places. So, yeah, that's.
Well, anyways, yes, that's our Robert for the week. But you're right about so many other ones to it. And surprisingly, Mr. Robert, hey, kudos. We went over and went through, what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of your 15 items.
And that's we could do it if we wanted to, but sometimes we get some other hosts who want to talk about other stuff. So
yep. But we're getting better at doing that. The only reason I'm trying to make sure that we end close to around 2:00 is because I have preparation for a call that I have at the top of the hour, and it's going to require a little bit of work on my part to get all the things lined up that I want to make sure.
Lauren, you know that you are great in the clutch, and one of the things you love to do is to work with clients on a completely unprepared, know nothing about it, and just dive in and see what happens. And
yeah, but I'm also a data-driven person. I don't like just putting opinion out without having data to point at and say, that's why I'm saying that. That kind
is that perhaps what differentiates you from other people who do what you do? I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe it could be something like that.
But, you want opinions? I got opinions.
I got opinions like everybody else has. Well, anyway. With that in mind, thank you. Well, two counts. One, for an excellent list this week. And I know you do excellent lists every week, but I thoroughly enjoyed this list this week. It really lent to what I thought was a continuity of brand devaluation, because I think, we talk about that brands aren't going to go away. Of course not. But they're also not too big not to fail either. And that their size also is their limitation. And when they do stupid things like increase their point spread requirements for redemptions and so forth, it makes independent hoteliers, jobs marketers so much easier, because it gives us fodder for what we can do better. Yeah. And all the other things about multi-brand doesn't really pay off, and all this other. These things just lend itself to saying, look, brands have value, but they're not the end-all solution. And independents have ability to do quite well and actually excel, not just compete, but excel against brands as the contra to the yang.
I mean, just think of it with restaurants. Why do people have a Subway franchise versus just doing something where they can go make a sandwich locally and not have to pay a big chunk of revenue and things off to them?
I mean, there is a consistency expectation, but but there's not a Subway Subsist and a Subway Subsist and 15 flavors of Subway. It's Subway compared to Marriott, which is, pick one out of 30. It's okay. We're trying our best.
Yeah. Well, and that's because the incentives have been set up by Wall Street to say, you are going to get rewarded if you can get more rooms and a larger footprint on this stuff, right? And it's not, how are you rewarding those, those owners and creating value for those owners necessarily? That's not really the issue. It's how are you getting margins for that to reward your shareholders? And at some point you start going, wow, are there alternatives? Which is, and again, the reason the hoteliers or the major hotel groups, Marriott probably could easily take that 30 down to a dozen brands, right? I mean, a lot of these you could probably, and no one would care if a lot of them very honestly died. And if you combined Westin and Renaissance, really, are people going to be incredibly upset?
Well, you got to think about bringing up an old conversation that we had of when the first mergers were announced between Starwood and Marriott. Think back to all the Starwood Rewards members now, how happy they must be being forced into this now. And now with this point spread increase.
Getting devalued, devalue.
First off, it got jacked. It devalued before and then jacked up in redemption a year ago. And then you add another 15% on top of it this year in average. You basically, if you want to look at it, Starwood members lost half of their value. If you
easily. And Starwood was the richest program, which is why people loved it. Yep. And that's also why Starwood sold as a whole for whatever it was, $12 billion, because the program was generating, Starwood Preferred Guest was arguably half the value of that organization. Yeah. Right. I mean, they had some real estate assets you could sell off too, but the rest of it wasn't much. You go, no, we got Starwood Preferred Guest, and to sell off Westin versus, Aloft versus whatever, you would defeat that and you destroy the program. So it had to be sold in a bundle.
Congratulations, Marriott. You've now totally buried yourself into support and value to all the Starwood members that got dragged over because of it. So,
but how many of those Starwood members? I mean, I'm sure a bunch of them complained, but did they all dart and go, well, damn it, Marriott, I'm now going to Hilton? I don't think so, right? So, and part of it, again, it's the rewards and the incentives and how this is set up. If you go, guess what? That didn't matter. We're getting the business anyway. That's why the airlines all eliminated travel agency commission. They figured out, they aren't really creating business for us. It's just we're paying them 10% or whatever because they booked a ticket. Somebody told them where they wanted to fly, and we did that for them. So we gave them 10%. No, that goes to zero. Well, people didn't stop flying. What happened? A bunch of travel agencies went away, right? Because they weren't creating value. So my theory, I don't know. I'm going to go out on a limb and go, if the hotel brands don't do a good job, and there is some form of disruption, which makes it where you don't have to go to the hotel brand. You can go direct just as easily to the individual properties. yeah, you'll see a shakeout in hotel brands. You should.
If Hilton or
creating value.
IHG or even Hyatt were Omni or whatever, small brands are not preferred as a soft brand or whatever, were smart, they would actually reduce their thresholds.
Yeah, but it's expensive too. I mean, that's the whole thing.
Yeah,
so,
but what's the cost of acquisition by lowering by point spread that you're still having a long stick with a carrot on it, in the sense of saying, hey, look, you know what? Are you tired of the pain of losing value with your loyalty? Are you not feeling that you're being rewarded for it? Come with us. You know what I mean?
It's the Southwest approach. Southwest, intense pressure from Wall Street, bag fees, change fees, all these sorts of things. They don't do it because they know customers. Hey, you heard Lily. She loves Southwest Airlines.
Right.
Southwest doesn't have first class. And she said she's always flying on she's traveling on other people's money. Right? So she could, probably demand, hey, no, you need to fly me whatever. I need to go business class wherever when I do. She doesn't do that. She loves Southwest because they're treating her with respect of not going, okay, you're traveling. Oh, you had luggage because you're going to go away for a little while and you wanted changes of clothes and things like that. That makes sense. Yeah, we aren't going to charge you for that. That's included in the ticket price. Yeah. Right? That makes sense.
I do have to run, Mr. Robert, for people who want to know more about you and Rockcheetah and ability to sign up for your weekly newsletter.
Exactly. It's rockcheetah.com or at Robert K. Cole on social media. Or if you would like the Rockcheetah, hospitality list sent to your inbox every Friday morning, you can go to
early Friday morning.
Early Friday morning, probably before you're going to wake up Friday morning. Although the folks in Europe open it right away. So, but regardless, it's bit.ly/Rockcheetah, all lowercase, ROCKCHEETAH, and you too can sign up for all these articles and know what we're talking about, because I know Lauren likes to talk about them but not tell people what they're about. But yeah, you like that insider sort of thing.
Yeah, I like to be the guy in the know. With that, you can also get the replay of this show if you're not already subscribed to it, which you'll be sent the replay automatically anyway, at hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com/live. There you can see all links to our current year of 2020's episodes, and then a link to our archives going back as far back as 2014.
And on how many platforms are we on now?
Oh gosh, well and by the way, Stephanie owes us a solid, because it turns out LinkedIn is back to its ways. It'll only allow me to broadcast on one LinkedIn channel. So when I added Cogwheel, because she said, hey, can you broadcast the show live on my LinkedIn? I added Cogwheel Marketing, which bumped mine off. I did not simulcast as Lauren Gray on LinkedIn this week, but it did go on Cogwheel Marketing. So, Stephanie, you get ding, 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 the Traffic Award.
Clever, isn't she? Yeah.
So hopefully, and we did have some people that popped through on it, but we are on multiple Facebook pages, including HSMAI's APAC region and also HSMAI's EU region, which we also simulcast again on Wednesdays at 11:30 a.m. for Sydney, Australia time, and London time, so that it's a little bit more comfortable time zones for both of them to be able to do the playback. So we do that. We're also on Twitter. We're also on YouTube. We're also on LinkedIn. We're also, again, as I said, multiple pages on those. Twitter actually is getting some feedback. I get some people engaged on Twitter, which is interesting that it is there for that. But all good things for those. And like I said, if you want to replay this and for the links to all the content that we just went through, as well as ones we didn't quite get to, you can go to, again, hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com/live. Look for show number 235. And there you get the playback. You get the playback recording, I should say, and all the links to the articles that Robert so generously put together for us.
Yeah, and it's very interesting, the analytics that are coming off of the of what articles get opened and things like that are absolutely fascinating. I should have had this thing on MailChimp before when I was sending it just the HSMAI boards, but yeah, it's actually very interesting to see what kind of articles draw in people's attention. And it's what the number one, actually we had a three-way tie for first, were one, Marriott category changes, two, the best all-inclusive resorts, and what was three? Oh, the entrepreneur article on the fake influencer.
Oh,
those were the three leads. Not huge leads over the others. A lot of time the rut row is the real rocker. But yeah, it was interesting. But all those beat the top story, which is interesting.
We have to apologize to Holly, Ed, Stuart, Tim, and Valen, and Dan Waxman. We ran out of time for them to join the show today.
But they're all in rehab together. It's that group.
Oh, did they go to rehab together?
They did. Yes.
Go to rehab, and I say no.
That's right. Lauren, Lily, and I said no. No rehab
for us. But I thought Tim was in his CIA mode, and he was off into Oslo or something. And it turned out that he's just taking a nice long weekend with Tammy. And then Stuart blew us off for some client thing. I don't know what that was all about. And then Ed just no-showed. I mean, Ed, he got all puffy-huffy because for some reason I missed you guys' link. And
yes,
I guess
you did. Yeah.
I think in protest, he just decided not to join.
Well, I was going to do that also. Yeah, exactly. Our feelings are hurt, Lauren.
Holly just got too important. I don't even know. Maybe I have to call her secretary to see if she can join us now. Or her secretary's secretary. I'm sure she's probably more important than that. And then Valen,
I think she has a department that handles that now.
Oh, yes.
And then she has the whole
Valen,
inbound.
Valen probably another band gig somewhere. I mean,
Valen actually was mentioned in the Oracle article as well, saying that a strategy of Nor1, because of the challenges of integrating with Oracle, they just hired former employees so they could get attention and get focus on the list, so they could call their friends. So another interesting strategy. So.
All right. To that end, I thank you again. For everyone else, please join us again next week for show number 236, which, if you would like to sign up and register ahead of time, is at bit.ly/HDM show 236. There you can register so that you'll be reminded a half hour before the show, both in text and also in email if you would like, to join the show with us.
Or an easier bit.ly to remember is bit.ly/rockcheetah, ROCKCHEETAH, because then you'll get the newsletter that morning, and it has links to the show, so you can do it right like that. It's so easy.
No, you're not taking the traffic. You're not taking the traffic. All right, everyone. Thank you.
I'm going to do what you tipped me off with what Stephanie was doing to steal the live feed. I might as well steal the
I got nothing left here, right? Nobody's showing up for my party anymore. Everybody's showing up for everybody else's party.
No. Attribution theft is real, Lauren.
Attribution theft is real. All right, everyone. We hope to see you next Friday, 11:30 Eastern. Remember, I will be doing an audio podcast as usual every week, an hour from now, or hour and a half from now, to recap a little bit of what we talked about today, plus things we didn't talk about, which is only runs about 20 to 30 minutes. You can find that on Apple iTunes. You can ask Alexa to play it for you. Google Play will play it for you, or Google Assistant will play it for you, and it's on 39 other podcast platforms, so you can find it somewhere. And that is Hospitality Marketing, and it'll be podcast number 235. Coincidence? I think not. Anyway.
And poor Lauren's client, we apologize to you because
I'm just going to come without data.
He hasn't had time to prepare his data, and second, he's going to have to cut the meeting short because he's got to do the podcast. Okay.
To say, who needs paying clients anyway, right? When you get
exactly
your attribution on your free shows.
That's right. Okay.
All right, everyone. Thank you again. We'll talk to you next week, 11:30 Friday.
Enjoy the Oscars over the weekend.
Yes.